Commissioner Angbarth,
Here.
can you confirm that you have no one in the room who's over the age of 18 with you?
Yes.
Thank you. Commissioner Green, can you confirm that you have no one over the age of 18 in the room with you?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Okay, we will do the roll call of attendance. Commissioner Cahill.
Here.
Commissioner Doyle.
Here.
Commissioner Elkins.
Here.
Commissioner Angbarth.
Here.
Commissioner Goldberg. Here. Commissioner Green.
Here.
Commissioner McKenzie.
Here.
Commissioner Poles.
Here.
Commissioner Riley.
Here.
Commissioner Taylor.
Here.
And I'm here. Do we have any public announcements, members of the public? Anybody on Zoom? Okie dokie. All right, we are gonna get right into it. 2026-2027 budget discussion. Director Thibault, I turn it over to you.
Okay. I will do my best. Let me get some water though, just in case. All right. So good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the fiscal year 26-27 budget workshop. Today's workshop is an opportunity for library administration to present our proposed budget ahead of formal adoption by the Commission in June. It's a chance to discuss how we allocate our resources to sustain current services, support our staff, and invest in new priorities for the coming year. Over the past several years, Sonoma County Library has experienced a transformational period of growth. The library sales tax, now extended through Measure W, has provided a stable and sustainable funding source, allowing us to modernize facilities, expand staffing, and significantly enhance the patron experience. When combined with property tax and strong support from the Library Foundation, this has positioned us to deliver services at a level that would not have been possible otherwise. At the same time, we remain grounded in what our community values most. Our recent survey confirms that access to physical and digital collections remains central, alongside essential services like internet access, technology, and welcoming public space. What you'll see in today's presentation reflects a system that is both strong and evolving, continuing to invest in modernization, expanding access across the county, and using community input to guide our next strategic plan. This proposed budget reflects that direction. It sustains our core services while advancing key initiatives, including the opening of a permanent Roseland Library, expanded outreach to a second bibliobus, and implementation of a new strategic plan shaped by our community. Before I move forward, I want to thank all of the staff who worked very hard on this budget, including our Chief Financial Officer, Myrna Lopez, her staff in the Budget and Finance Department, as well as our admin assistants, Jaylene, Lisa, and Ali, who helped put your packets together and send your binders out so that you could review them in advance of this workshop. So now I'm going to begin by providing some highlights from this past year and how they position us for the work ahead. Oh, here we go. All right. So our past year has been defined by both progress and momentum. We started the year with the reopening of the Healdsburg and Petaluma Regional Libraries, and we will end the year with the Rincon Valley modernization. We also expanded access through biblioboxes and sorters, supported the Library Foundation in launching its first major fundraising event, and completed phase 1 of our new strategic plan. Taken together, these efforts reflect a broader focus on evolving our systems and services to better meet community needs, while also strengthening the foundation for long-term sustainability. Our work at Rincon Valley is a strong example of that commitment to modernization. The Rincon Valley Library has not had a renovation since its opening in 1994. This $2.1 million project includes new furniture, carpet, and finishes, as well as a single point of service desk combining reference and circulation functions, an enclosed teen space, a maker space, a study pod for up to 4 patrons, and an automated materials handling room, in addition to a dedicated stay and play children's area capable of accommodating larger gatherings. We're not just maintaining facilities, we're rethinking how library spaces function as community assets. Flexible, welcoming, and aligned with how people use the library today and into the future. We've also made significant strides in expanding access and convenience. We now have biblioboxes, and they extend our reach beyond traditional service hours and locations, and automated sorters are improving efficiency behind the scenes. Thanks. We have biblioboxes at all of our regional libraries, except for Roseland, which will be getting one this new fiscal year as part of their reopening. And we've also put smaller automated sorters in Healdsburg, Sebastopol, and the new Rincon Valley Library modernization. Staff in Healdsburg and Sebastopol are raving about these new improvements, which reduces repetitive motions and streamlines the materials check-in process. These investments are more than just operations. They're about reducing barriers, improving access, and allowing staff to focus on more meaningful direct service. This year also marked a major milestone. The foundation hosted its first large-scale fundraising event at the Wild Oak Saddle Club. The event raised $215,000 for the Roseland Library project and was such a success that the foundation has been invited to return with plans to make this an annual tradition. Efforts like this strengthen our ability to partner with the community and expand resources beyond what public funding alone can provide. Now we turn to our strategic plan. Okay. We received over 7,000 survey responses and saw a 97.5 satisfaction rating. Clear indicators that the community values and trusts the library. At the same time, we conducted extensive outreach through interviews, visits, and listening sessions to ensure that we are not just hearing from our most engaged users, but from a broad cross-section of the community. That combination of strong performance and active listening is critical as we define what comes next. Our satisfaction data tells an important story. As you can see from the chart, the blue is very satisfied, the orange is satisfied, the green is somewhat dissatisfied, and the yellow at the very top is very dissatisfied. We see very strong results in customer service and overall experience, which speaks to the dedication of our staff and the strength of our system. At the same time, the data highlights areas where we can improve. And you'll see, so as you see, the blue line kind of goes downward, and that reflects the satisfaction ratings. And the areas that we have to most improve on are these three at the end, which include wait times for our e-media, communication, and expanding language access. This is where data becomes actionable. It helps us focus our efforts on closing gaps and ensuring access across all communities. So these are our 5 areas of focus. We're currently working on our second draft of the full strategic plan, and we will be bringing this to you in June for review and approval. We're focusing on being a destination for connection, expanding culturally aligned and hyperlocal services, closing gaps in technology and opportunity, improving access, and rethinking how we communicate and engage. We are currently working on the draft, and we will be showing you more highlights in future meetings. Together, these priorities reflect a shift, not just maintaining strong services, but making them more visible, more accessible, and more responsive to community needs. As we move into the next fiscal year, we are entering an important period of transition. We will be launching a new strategic plan, completing key facility projects such as the Occidental expansion and the Roseland Regional Library, and developing a system-wide communications plan. Together, these efforts are focused on aligning our resources, partnerships, and infrastructure with the future we are building, while continuing to be responsible stewards of public funds and maintaining the high level of service our community expects. The library sales tax remains a critical foundation for that stability and long-term sustainability. You will hear more about these specific goals in the executive services, public services, facilities, and communications presentations. In many ways, the coming year marks the beginning of a new era for Sonoma County Library, one defined by thoughtful growth, stronger community connections, and a clear vision for the future. Overall, what you see here is the library system that is strong, trusted, and actively evolving. We are building on that strength to modernize, expand access, and shape a clear path forward. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Okay, do we have any questions for Director Tebow? Commissioner McKenzie?
Interested in the hyper-local, I think it's a new term we're introducing this time, the hyper-local to each library, I gather, each community, and wondering how we're going to go about doing that in a general sense.
So that was one of the things that came out in both the community survey as well as the staff survey, is that each of our communities are distinct, and we want to make sure that the services that we are providing at our branches reflect the uniqueness of our communities. We are working now on our tactics for how we are going to address that. Some of that will be through our collections. How we, make sure that our collections at the branches represent, the particular interests of the community, but it will also be done through programming and partnerships.
For example, senior services, which are senior, services, which I've talked about for a long time. Are we going to hone in on the demographics of each individual library, like age groups and all that other stuff, everything?
Yeah, so phase 2 of our strategic plan, which begins in July, will include kind of a market and profile analysis for every branch. So each branch will have, they use Placer AI, which is this tool where they can really look at the community demographics at a pretty granular level, and we'll use that information to help our branches tailor programming to the unique communities they serve.
Thank you.
Commissioner Doyle? And then we'll- Go ahead.
Kudos to the staff and kudos to the fabulous results of the survey. I think that that's something that we talked a little bit about in the finance committee. We need to brag about that. And that's got to be one of the tasks moving forward. We've got to brag about that a lot. Which then sort of segues into the communications issue. And so it'll be interesting to see how we, the commission, can help you do that.
Well, I can share that Petula and her team have already put together a draft version of a communications plan for the strategic plan itself. And then they will also be doing a communications plan that will be both internal and for external stakeholders. Just as a more general plan. So we already got our first draft, but the actual communications plan will be part of the next fiscal year.
Great. And then my last comment is I'm putting on my librarian hat. E-materials, the cost of e-materials and the complaint about that. That's another thing that we have to make sure that everybody knows, that e-materials are incredibly expensive and the publishers aren't helping, but the publishers are also facing difficult challenges as well. So I think that's something that, as part of the communication strategy, we need to come up with one at the state level and at the local level as well.
Yes, and both Myrna and Jamie are going to talk about some of the things that we are doing next fiscal year to kind of boost some of our e-media collections.
Super, thank you.
Commissioner Riley?
Yeah, just briefly, congratulations on the survey work. I mean, that's an incredible response. The question that I have, and I don't, not asking after the data itself, but is there a sense of how the demographics of the survey respondents reflect or are maybe a little bit different than the actual demographics of the place we live?
So the survey indicated that a large, the results were skewed. They were skewed older and they were skewed whiter. And that is something that we consider when we're looking at the strategies. But we also did receive about 15% survey responses that were from non-users. But it wasn't like when we did the public education plan for the ballot measure, we hired a company who, like, that's their specialty, is making sure that they're getting like the right mix of respondents. But that's not what we did as part of our plan. So we kind of hold that and know that when we are reviewing the results.
Excellent, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Director Chabot.
All right, well, now I'm going to ask our CFO, Myrna Lopez, to come up and talk about our budget.
All the presenters could refer to the page number and the book thing we get over there.
Thank you. I guess I don't know what this, thank you. I understand that I am page 111. Okay. Hey. Good afternoon. I am Myrna Lopez, the Chief Financial Officer, presenting the proposed fiscal year 26-27 budget overview. The library is on a sustainable financial trajectory thanks to the voters' approval of the sales tax measure W in 2024. There are other important elements that were incorporated in formulating next year's budget. And these include, of course, our reliable major sources of revenue that include the property tax and our sales tax, compliance with the Measure W ordinance and its expenditure plan, increasing access to library services for the community, and continuance of monitoring and reporting on our capital projects, budgeting and status, as well as fully funding the stabilization fund. And also, very importantly, in the background is adhering to prudent fiscal policies and procedures. We continue to be mindful of external factors that impact our revenues and overall operations, such as economic conditions, which can be caused by national monetary policies, state and local market conditions, and natural disasters. National events such as the conflict in the Middle East has brought an additional level of uncertainty to markets. And in our daily work, we are very mindful of our important partnerships with the cities and Sonoma County, especially when we pursue state grants in partnerships with them and modernize our local branches. And we continue to monitor the budget and these external factors very closely and respond to them as soon as we can as needed. The chart shows actual revenue receipts for sales tax and property tax since 2017 when Measure W was initiated. Property tax is the most stable and has consistent rate of growth of about 6%. Sales tax, on the other hand, is much more sensitive to economic conditions. With almost 10 years of data, a baseline is emerging here with higher levels of confidence that can withstand minor fluctuations. So over the last 4 years, our annual receipts have been at the lowest, about $15 million. But with this additional couple of years, we will see where that baseline really falls. But coupled with this emerging baseline, there is a very marginal growth year over year between 1.5 and 1.8, depending on the economic conditions that we've experienced over the last 4 years. Can we wait for questions at the end? Thank you. Over the last few years, the Commission has received presentations on the achievements made possible with the voter-approved sales tax. Since its inception in 2017, the library has received over $114 million that has been invested in our local libraries. This revenue stream will continue with the extension of the sales tax in Measure W, which was approved in 2024. And you will continue to hear that because we are so grateful and mindful that we do have these funds that make all these services possible for our community. This coming year will mark the sunset of Measure W and a final report to share the impact of that investing in our communities. We will have a Measure W report in collaboration with Communications and the Budget Accounting and Services Division. So to dive into the budget, the highlights are that the appropriations are $57.21 million. And this is a combination of property tax, sales tax, and major donations and use of bequests this year. This is $4.18 million in new revenue that is driven by one-time donations from the Sonoma County Library Foundation for the new permanent Roseland Library, and also our annual property tax increase. The total budget is 237.6 FTE, which represents an additional 1.5 FTE that is for the new library, new Roseland Permanent Library. This level represents over 300 people. At the direction of the Commission and working closely with the Finance Committee, the library adopted a policy to accelerate the paydown of the unfunded accrued liability associated with our pension. The first payment is scheduled next fiscal year in the amount of $250,000 annually. Next year's proposed budget includes preparations for our bibliobus and opening the new permanent Roseland Library. It also includes maintaining the stabilization fund at 20% of expenditures as a prudent policy action. The next slide shows more details of our revenue. This chart summarizes our proposed revenues, and I do round numbers throughout the presentation for presentation purposes. Total revenues and other financing sources are $55.3 million. This year, the library is transferring funds from other funds where we record our bequests and donations. Under property tax, our revenue is a total of $33.2 million. And with other funding sources, it's $34.2 million. And again, this includes the bequests and donations that will be transferred in. For the sales tax, we project $15.8 million and a combined sales tax revenue of $18.3 million, again, reflecting the other funding sources from bequests and donations. The library is projecting receiving approximately $3 million in donations, really driven by the Sonoma County Library Foundation that has pledged $2.6 million for the new permanent Roseland Library. And there are other donations that are recorded in their own fund. Therefore, these funds will be transferred into property tax and sales tax, where we record our day-to-day expenditures. On the expenditure side, the total expenditures are $54.2 million. Under property tax, the total expenditures are $34.6 million, and in sales tax is $19.3 million. You will see that there is a difference, a variance, where expenditures are greater than our revenues, and those are driven by the capital projects. So at the bottom of this chart that is also in your binder, you see the use of fund balance is listed there. Yes. And also transfers in from the gifts and donations, bequests, and the major donation for the new Roseland Library. The proposed use of fund balance is $2.3 million combined property tax and sales tax for our capital and major maintenance projects. The fund balance policy also provides direction on how these funds can be used. And in fiscal year 26-27, the committed fund balance is $21.6 million, which represents $10.8 million for the stabilization fund, $9.7 million for capital and maintenance reserves, and approximately $1 million for our health reimbursement accounts that are obligations in our memorandum of understanding with labor. This leaves an estimated unrestricted available fund balance of $8.6 million, which is approximately $7.5 million from property tax and about $1 million in sales tax. And this is after setting aside funds for reserves for IT facilities and the capital improvement and the and our stabilization fund. Oh, I also like to mention the caveat that my finger is working too fast. Is that these are estimates based on our current fiscal year 25-26. When we close out the current fiscal year end and we have actual expenditures, actual revenues, then these numbers for next fiscal year for the fund balance may change accordingly. So where does our funding go? We like to present the expenditures in terms of people, places, and resources. The lion's share goes to people, which is salaries and benefits, for a total of $34.2 million or 63% of our budget. Resources are services and supplies for a total of $15.7 million, which is about 29%. Here, where we have additional resources invested in our permanent collections, made possible by the combination of bequests, property tax and sales tax, and $400,000 from the Library Foundation. So over $800,000 is additional $800,000 is invested in our permanent collections. And Jamie Anderson our division manager for collections, can speak more to those details. Places are our capital projects for our modernizing our branches and maintenance. And here this equals $3.5 million or 7% of the budget for a total of $54.2 million in expenditures. This chart illustrates the appropriations by division, and I will just highlight the top four, which is public services, 34% of the budget, facilities, 14%, collections, 14%, and information technology, 10%. This slide shows all of our funding sources. Funding sources are the sum of the operating revenue under property tax, sales tax, plus the fund balance associated with them. And combined, property tax and sales tax is about 91% of all funding sources. Our funding is also augmented by gifts and donations. And this is an annual gifts and donations from our Friends of the Library organizations. And this year, more significantly, from the Sonoma County Library Foundation to support the Roseland Library. And we also are drawing down on bequests that we've had for several years. Okay. This slide shows operating funds and FTE. We are proud that most of our resources are dedicated to the branches for direct services and support. Of the local branches. This includes 42% of the budget to public services and community engagement, and 36% to those divisions that provide support, which include facilities, IT, collections, and communications. The administration is 12% of the budget, executive services, budget and accounting, and human resources. And this percentage at this level hasn't changed over last few years. It remains at 12% for administration. Total FTE is 237.6, and about 217 FTE or 92% of staff provide direct service to patrons or support the branches, while 20 FTE are allocated to administration. An important factor in the budget formulation is applying the allocation of major revenues policy that applies to property tax and sales tax. And here are the ratios that are applied. Service-oriented division expenditures are allocated 65% to property tax and 35% to sales tax. Under the administration division, expenditures are allocated 90% to property tax and 10% to sales tax, while capital projects are allocated 10% to property tax and 90% to sales tax. Those ratios are translated into dollars in this slide. And when we apply those ratios, it is property tax represents $34.6 million of the budget, and sales tax is $19.3 million. Next year's budget seeks to accomplish the following: is increasing services for our community, as well by primarily opening up the new Roseland Permanent Library. It also is a balanced budget with our annual revenues as well as the use of fund balance and the infusion of one-time donations as discussed. And finally, ensuring that the stabilization fund is funded at 20% of expenditures. There will be questions and answers at the end of each presentation. We'll do our best to answer your questions during this meeting. If there are any open questions, we will provide a response in writing and present them to the commission at its regular meeting on May 6th. And the commission is scheduled to consider the budget for adoption on June 3rd.
Any questions for Myrna? Okay, we got Commissioner Goldberg and then Commissioner McKenzie and then Commissioner Hall.
I have two questions. In appropriation by division, it said library 9%. What does that mean?
So there is a separate, it's not necessarily a division per se, like collections or public services, but we did establish a cost center where we record all of our revenues and where we record some benefits that cannot be allocated to a specific division. So if you see each division, you'll see salaries and benefits, though, like we can allocate the pension cost to each division, but we cannot allocate the big the $250,000 additional discretionary payment to any specific division. The big lump sum of the UAL payment, same, workers' comp also. So those benefits are in the library cost center as well as the contingency fund. So those are not able to allocate to by division.
That makes sense. Thanks. And then my last question is, in funding sources, there was a small amount charges for services. I was wondering what that is.
Those could be photocopies, use of community rooms, for example. Mhm.
Okay, Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes, thank you for the great overall presentation, Meredith. Under, let's see, on page 117 of our book, it's the fund balance, use of fund balance page. And just for everybody's edification, because a lot of people are not clear about all of our financial reports, not that one. 117 in our book.
I don't have access to.
I know.
It's the text.
Yeah, there we go.
There we go.
So under committed funds, those are ones that commission has taken action on, I believe. So proper definition, but anyway, so it's clear the stabilization fund, what that is, and it's pretty clear what the health reimbursement counts. Could you enlighten us more either now or during your presentation about the calculation of the capital, well, what the list of the projects will be under the capital committed, and then also how you calculate the maintenance reserves that of that $9 million, just some more specifics.
Sure.
I don't know if they're in here or you're going to touch on them.
Section 6 is speaks to our to this. And there is a chart on page 70, well, I would say 83 of your binder, the top right-hand corner, page 83. Here it shows that page 83. This is page 83 are our maintenance and our current capital projects that we're proposing in this budget. And it shows that we will be just for property tax and sales tax alone is $519. And these items include laptops, and it includes the maintenance of the new handlers that we've been purchasing and installing over the last few years, and the biblio boxes. There is a schedule that IT holds, and the maintenance for those items is going to be approximately $200,000 per year. The 200,000 that comes in for facilities is a historical cost of how much the library spends on routine major maintenance across all branches. Is about 200,000. And then the smaller items, they're just small tools. And also we do include in the maintenance is 54,000 from the foundation for a total of investing of $574,000 for our maintenance. Under capital, I think there is a description in here, and I would say that the best is for each of those divisions to speak to the investments in the capital that they're doing. I think that you would get better information, but the totals are listed on this page. Did I answer your question?
Yeah, that's a really good reference back. What I found in prior budget workshops is the present, I kind of go through the beginning of the book and read it this way, and then the presentations are not necessarily that way. And a lot of the questions I have are in the written verbiage that we don't necessarily talk about. So I'm trying to make sure I don't skip some of my questions of the.
So I would
go
say if section 1 in the transmittal note, if you have questions about that, I could answer them now. If you have questions about the number details by division, you should ask those questions at the appropriate time when the division manager speaks. And then we also will have questions and answers at the end. So if there are any questions that were not answered earlier, we could catch them at the end.
Anyway, thanks for that reference to that. That's a very good descriptor report that points out or answers my questions. Thank you.
Okay, we've got Commissioner Elkind and then Commissioner Engbarth and then Commissioner Poles.
Thank you. Well, my first question was the one that Eve had. So thank you for asking that. Appreciate it. I want to ask it again. But my second question is about the response that you just gave to Barbara, because I'm looking at page 83 and I'm not seeing anything that matches the $9.77 million.
Thank you for that
here.
question. If you look on page 84, you will see a much more detailed chart.
Thank you.
And here is where you see those the
Okay.
9.7.
I was just looking in the wrong place. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's it.
There's a lot of numbers.
Okay, Commissioner Engbarth?
Yes, I was wondering where we could find, or where one can find, the total amount of debt that the library owns at this point. I mean, owes, I should say.
That normally is presented with our annual audit of our financial statements. If you would like that, I don't have that information today. If you would like, we can present that.
Sure, I'd like that information. I'd also like to know what sort of a debt management policy we have.
So the current debt that the library has is related to our pensions. And we do have, we did have some contracts where, where we lease our equipment, and but it's nominal, and so that's the extent of our liabilities.
So right now, we don't have a debt management policy for an overall debt management policy. Is that correct?
Lorna, would it be fair to say that we don't have debt in the traditional sense?
Yes, we don't have debt in a traditional sense of debt issuance. That is something that will be discussed in the next meeting after the budget workshop.
And
Okay.
we also have the ADP policy that we just passed that, where we are making an additional discretionary payment towards our unfunded accrued liability.
Also
So,
OPEB.
and our
Yeah.
OPEB,
Right.
yeah.
Right. Okay, that's all for right now. Thank you.
Commissioner Poles?
I wonder if we could look at page 122, the bar graph of applied ratios. And it just strikes me, looking at the ratios of property versus sales tax, where we all know that the sales tax is the most volatile. Yeah, right there. So we know sales tax is the most unpredictable for us. And yet, and I see that on capital, which is also the most unpredictable. I mean, it's not, I mean, things are less predictable in capital expenses. Things can, we've experienced that. I'm just wondering, it just seems to put more sales tax in the most unpredictable, one could argue. Am I wrong about that? You think capital is of all those administration, you sort of know payroll for the most part? Am I wrong about that? It just seems an interesting mix.
Just a little bit of a background. These ratios come from a policy that the commission adopted when I first joined the library about 5 years ago. The library did not have a policy to standardize the use of sales tax. So one of the first things I did was create a policy. There was already work being done on it to standardize the use of sales tax in particular. But we have two major sources of revenue, property tax and sales tax. So the policy addresses both. And we used the Measure Y ordinance and its expenditure plan that reflect, these ratios reflect the ordinance and the expenditure plan. And the expenditure plan really leans in the maintenance of the upkeep of the deferred maintenance of the local branches. And so this reflects that since the expenditure plan really called that out, that sales tax, we would use sales tax at a greater ratio for our local branches.
And I'll also add that our policy really guides how we use the sales tax, but we have more flexibility in property tax. So if there was ever a scenario in which we needed to use more property taxes to pay for capital, we have that flexibility. Whereas the sales tax policy is really driven by the expenditure plan and the ordinance. So we have less flexibility there.
I would also like to add, in terms of a conversation of future policy, is that, as I mentioned in the bar chart of how much we've received in sales tax, that rate, when this policy was developed and adopted, it was clearly a 60-40% ratio. And since then, that ratio has shifted where sales tax has decreased and property tax has increased. I would like to potentially look at that policy again in terms of the capital question on how we fully utilize those funds.
And I understand that we're within policy. I wasn't arguing that point. I literally was thinking, is this really the right policy anymore? And maybe we can discuss,
Yeah, good
So
point.
yeah, discuss it, right, yeah.
Okay, Commissioner.
On what Tina just said.
Absolutely, and then we'll go to Commissioner Cahill.
I would just add to what Myrna said, that the reason for the policy, going back to the discussion, is to be sure that we're in compliance with the requirements of
Right.
the measure. So for example, we felt that while we could justify a higher percentage of sales tax for administration, we didn't want to push that. For the divisions that were clearly service oriented, we figured that the ratio should be equivalent to the sources of revenue. If we got 60% of our revenue from property tax and 40% from sales tax, that would make sense. There was discussion. Could we justify doing that for administration? Many of us felt we could, but we decided to be much more conservative and to say, look, we don't want to try to contest the policy at all. This feels like it's very defensible. Similarly, from capital, one of the specific purposes of the measure was to invest in aging facilities, so that we felt that we could go as high as 90%. But my recollection is that we don't have to, in any particular case, do that. We just have that flexibility. I hope that helps.
Commissioner Cahill?
Question about work projects fall on the continuum of approve, discuss, ending, whatever. I'm particularly concerned about the situation at the central capital. We've discussed informally. It's a bad idea to close the library because it's too hot and wet to do that last summer. We talked informally about renting or buying several so-called swamp coolers that move around within the building to provide temporary cooling. David, could you put your microphone on? Oops, sorry. So the swamp coolers are the first item. And the second item is a wholly new replacement for the air conditioning system, because it's far beyond its useful life. My question is the central issue, is that contained in this year's budget, proposed budget, to do the swamp coolers and the new air conditioning system, or isn't it?
The budget does include the cost of renting or ensuring that the central library is cool. I will ask Director Thibault to speak to the larger issue of central library and additional investments.
So at this point, our budget does not reflect any kind of replacement for the air conditioning at Central Library, as we are very close to having a lease with the city of Santa Rosa. And so my feeling is that until we have that lease approved and signed, and we can engage in negotiations with the city of Santa Rosa over the replacement of the HVAC, it doesn't make sense for us to predict or try to project what that cost may be, because our original estimate was based upon replacing the current piece of equipment. And there may be new technologies that will be significantly less expensive that we may be, able to use to address this issue.
We're also looking at outside sources of funding that we may qualify for.
Thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Doyle?
This is a minor question, but not minor, small question. On page 120, the funding sources chart. So I'm looking at the donation miscellaneous, and you said that the Friends donations are included. Sorry, the next one. Page 120, is that? That's the one. The Friends are included in the donation / miscellaneous. Is that correct?
Let's see.
But because the Friends have been very generous this year, I think, and generous in the last couple of years, and it would be nice to specifically say Friends where they're included, I think. And I noted that in one of the in the introductory remarks to the entire budget, the foundation was mentioned, and we love the foundation, of course, but we also love the Friends, and they've been very generous. So it'd be nice to say foundation and friend. So back to the question, is the Friends included in that?
Friends are,
3 million?
yes, donation and miscellaneous. And the
about
reason,
how much did the Friends give us this year? Ballpark.
I'd say about
So we,
400,000.
we recorded $180,000 in donations from friends, and that's pretty much how.
Oh,
stayed.
so Petaluma was probably next year, or last year rather. 380,000? Okay, thank
That
you.
was in last.
Thank
Yeah, that was in the current year, we normally book about 150 to 180,000 for historical, historical average donations.
Okay.
There could be some that are one time and maybe they were not anticipated, so we still record them and accept them, of course. But this is how much we budget given historic
Okay.
activity.
Thank you.
Oh, and I'm sorry, and the reason why we call it out as donations and miscellaneous, that's the official technical term, and that's why I do say friends, and we say, in the narrative, I do explain where they're coming from, but technically, this is the
Okay.
fund.
All right.
Great, thank you so much. Okay.
That's it. So I would like to introduce the next presentation of executive services with Dara Brads, our Deputy Director, and Craig Palmer, our Development Director.
Page 127. Oh. Ah.
Good to go. All right. Good afternoon, Library Commissioners and Director Tebow. I'm Dara Brads, your Deputy Director, and I will be presenting with our Fund Development Manager, Craig Palmer, today as Deputy Director for the Sonoma County Library. I oversee the operational management services of the public and support our Library Director, Erica Tebow, in advancing system-wide priorities. Together, we support 15 library locations and more than 300 staff who serve approximately 486,000 community members across the county. Our executive service team also includes our Fund Development Manager, Craig. Oh, I'm sorry, Fund Development Director, Craig Palmer.
Okay.
Note taken, who plays a key role in securing private funding to supplement public resources, allowing us to expand programs and services beyond what tax revenue alone can support. We are further supported by our 4 executive assistants, which each with a specialized focus. Jaylene Demapan supports the library director. Lisa Davison supports the commission and the deputy director. Suzanne Axtell supports the fund development efforts, and Martina Vargas provides support for public services and community engagement divisions. This structure ensures that our leadership team remains responsive, organized, and aligned in delivering high-quality service to the community. This past fiscal year, we made meaningful progress on several major organizational priorities. We successfully launched a new strategic plan, which provides a clear roadmap for the library's priorities and services for the next 5 years. As part of this process, we gathered input from over 7,000 community members through surveys. We also conducted focus groups and interviews of community stakeholders, ensuring that this plan reflects the needs and perspectives of the community we serve. We also paid down the legacy pension to lower our pension liability, and we successfully completed negotiations for a successor MOU in 2025, reflecting a strong and positive working relationship between management and the union and our shared commitment to collaboration in support of employees and the library's mission. For the next 2 slides, I'd like to turn it over to my colleague, Craig Palmer.
Thank you, Dara. Chair Lagos, Commissioners, Director Thibault. I'm Craig Palmer, Fund Development Director for the Library and the Foundation. As of today, the Foundation has raised $2.6 million, leaving just under $1 million to be raised by the campaign's deadline, December 31st. Foundation board members are now actively involved in a monthly countdown to meet that goal. Meanwhile, the foundation has embarked on its own planning process, which began with a retreat in March anchored by really wonderful presentations by our foundation president, Chris Falley, Director Thibault, and Chair Lagos. Director Thibault previewed the 5 focus areas emerging for the library strategic plan, the 5 areas which will now become the priorities of the foundation's philanthropic plan for its next campaign following the completion of the Roseland campaign. Foundation achievements in this fiscal year, certainly the groundbreaking last November was a highlight of the year. For donors, it made the whole campaign real and brings a palpable sense of urgency to the fundraising. Foundation worked closely with the city to see that our leadership was well represented at the ceremony, and you see them all here digging in for the Roseland Library. Invited by the Wild Oak Saddle Club, in September, we produced the foundation's first ever benefit. In addition to the net that Director Thibault told us about, what was really important about this event was it opened up many new relationships with the city's high-value donors, with whom we continue to work now for follow-on gifts, and really importantly, board members. We also earned an immediate invitation to return in September 2026. This event will be positioned as, quote, "Let's wrap up this campaign," and planning is well underway. Watch your mailboxes for your save the date card, September 27th. We launched our naming opportunities campaign, which we've now retooled, giving feedback from some of the first solicitations and which now continues apace. With help from Director Thibault and guided by a community advisory group, we are also pulling together our Fund a Tile campaign. This is another part of our naming opportunities campaign, inviting local residents to help us build a mosaic art piece at the entrance to the library by sponsoring tiles for as little as $25 and as much as $1,000. Given the requisite process to identify the right artist and have time to design the piece, we hope to unveil that design at the Saddle Club event in September. For the library, we created several new policies establishing gift acceptance and system-wide donor recognition standards. With Library Director Thibault, we also developed the first ever case statement for the Wine Library Association, which has galvanized that board, that new board, to raise $160,000 over the next 2 years for the wine library. That campaign kicked off last December with an open house we helped organize to show off the renovated wine library and essentially bring the industry back. It worked. They had a full house. Next slide. Well, there it is. This slide gives you a real sense of the exuberance of guests at that first Saddle Club event and its energy, which is really driving our planning for our encore. There are about a half a dozen members of the Saddle Club, and these are all folks that you folks know who are almost actively just a member of the development team at this point. While the foundation has come a long way since 2022, when it launched the Roseland campaign, it is still a 3-year startup and at a nascent stage. Just as it was able to leverage the Roseland campaign to build its basic infrastructure, now it looks forward to using the campaign in support of the library's new strategic plan to further elevate its fundraising capacity. Right now, the board is focusing on strengthening its membership, seeking seasoned leaders in the philanthropy community. 2 strong candidates, names you know very well, are already in the nomination pipeline and will begin their terms July 1st. The next step has been to institute a moves management program as the operational cornerstone moving forward. As many of you know, this is a methodical process which systematically moves donors to their optimum giving level based on metrics and predictive modeling. Prioritizing these donors with wealth, especially who can give at the leadership levels of 50, 100,000 and above levels. These are new levels for the foundation. In closing, the foundation sees the 26-27 year when it can strengthen its capacity to be there for the library going forward, and what the foundation has come to call its joyful collaboration.
As we move into the upcoming fiscal year, our focus shifts to the implementation of the strategic plan. This includes strengthening library advocacy at the local, state, and federal levels to ensure investment in library services. We will also provide building and sustaining long-term partnerships through our external relation efforts. These partnerships are critical to expanding our reach, leveraging resources, and deepening our impact in the community. Overall, this work is about translating our strategic vision into our reach, leveraging resources, and deepening our impact in the community. Overall, this work is about translating our strategic vision into tangible outcomes for the people we serve. To support this work, Executive Services operates with a focused allocation of people and resources. Our team consists of 7 staff. In addition to personnel, our resources include operational costs such as facility rent, legal services, consulting support, and necessary supplies. These investments ensure that we have the infrastructure and expertise needed to guide the organization effectively and address both current and emerging needs. Looking ahead, we have several key priorities for the upcoming fiscal year. We will begin phase 2 of the strategic plan, building on the foundation established this year. We will conduct a comprehensive branch staffing analysis to ensure that our staffing levels and structures are aligned with community demand and service expectations. This data will help us identify opportunities to improve operational efficiencies, better align staffing and services, and enhance overall customer experience across all library locations. The completion of the Roseland Library marks an important milestone, delivering a long-awaited facility that the community has been anticipating for many years. These initiatives reflect our commitment to equity, access, and operational excellence. The role of Executive Services is to provide strategic direction and organizational oversight. We work to ensure continuity of service across all library locations. This means maintaining a system-wide perspective, supporting our staff, and ensuring that services remain reliable, equitable, and responsive to community needs. Ultimately, our goal is to position the library for a long-term success while continuing to deliver exceptional service every day.
Okay,
Are there
thank
any
you.
questions?
Any questions for Dara or Fred? Commissioner Elfond and then Commissioner McKenzie. And
Great
then
question.
Commissioner Doyle.
Thank you both for a great presentation. What is phase 2 of the strategic plan, since we haven't even seen phase 1?
So phase 2 is, so when we signed the contract with the Ivy Group, it spanned 2 fiscal years. So the first year was the strategic plan, and the second year is the that market analysis of each of our branches. So that is phase 2. So we'll be doing that market analysis in fiscal year 26-27 in addition to a branch staffing profile analysis.
Great to hear. Will there also, coming out of the strategic plan, be annual work plan objectives that?
Yes, part of our contract includes an implementation dashboard. So, we will have this dashboard, tasks will be assigned to specific people or divisions. And we will probably sit down and look at, year 1, year 2, year 3, and what our goals are.
So happy to hear that. Thank you.
Commissioner Doyle.
Thank you very much, both of you, for your presentation. When I was reading the executive services, I guess it was in the transmittal, when it came down to goals, I was a little bit, I'll say, surprised to see as one of the goals, recruiting 3 new board members able to contribute $10,000 and cultivate prospects, collectively giving 100,000. That seemed like a very specific goal to the foundation leadership. And I didn't see that kind of goal for executive services in general, the kind of goals that you talked about, Dara, about, supporting the system-wide perspective and staffing analysis to make sure distribution of, I would just, so the executive services transmittal or whatever this verbiage 61. And I would just suggest perhaps some more specific goals for executive services overall. Because this seems very focused, for most of these goals are very focused on the foundation.
I think because they're explorational in a way, because we're, for instance, profile analysis, we don't know what we don't know. That's exactly why we're doing this, to make sure that we're hitting the mark. So in conjunction with our strategic plan, it's a matter of putting it all together. It's kind of, it's difficult to project in the sense that we're going to come up with X number of dollars as a goal. Does that make sense? That's,
It does. It seemed like, believe this is the first year that we've kind of combined at this level, executive services and fund development. No?
no, it's been done every year I've been here.
Did you both present last year together?
Yep, and the year before that.
Wow, interesting. Well, anyway. Apologies. I just thought, again, that this was kind of very focused on the foundation goals, and they're really, foundation has its goals, but the overall library system is.
I can appreciate what you're saying. I think it goes back to just the style, for lack of coming up with a better word, of the goal itself. Doing the profile analysis is going to be a very heavy lift.
Yeah.
It's going to take some time, but we just don't know what our exact anticipation is. We need to be open-minded to what the results are. And it will have a definite ripple effect in our planning and processes and potential room for efficiencies moving forward.
Yeah, I thought just that you had expressed at the very end of your presentation some goal sounding verbiage that might have been in here. And the other thing, just in terms of the foundation fundraising, I just want to clarify. So the $2.6 million is all money that's raised private separately and not the big grants from the casino and the grant from the state and all that. It's a totally separate thing. And I don't know if it's even appropriate for us to see, but it'll be interesting to see a breakdown of all the funding collectively that's passed through the foundation so far, like these different big grants and then the private funding. And I don't know if that's appropriate for us to see that or not, but I'd be interested.
It's a good part of any annual analysis, which we would put in the annual report. We also have on the website every single donor to the campaign listed. And it's all private sector funding.
So we have the foundation goals in our budget thing. So it'd be interesting to see a report.
Well,
Maybe combined.
I think I could go to one better. First of all, Director Thibault gave us a list of all these expenses early on in the process. And I shared those with the finance committee of the foundation, which is already involved with the process to build the foundation's 26-27 operating budget, in which each one of those expenses is an expense item in the foundation's budget. The finance committee's process, because this campaign is now 3 years old, there's never been a let's stop and look at every single thing that we've done in the last 3 years in terms of all the income sources and all the expenses and sort it all out. And when they did that process, what emerged was $2.6 million is still available for this campaign in committed cash. There's 2 or 3 highly collectible pledges pending and a little bit of interest income. And by the way, that budget and all that detail and all that information about donors, which we always look at anyway, is all going to be at the June board meeting.
The what?
The June board meeting of the foundation. And be presented for a board consideration and a vote after the finance committee has vetted it.
So
you.
I also want to add that, executive services supports all of our departments. So, when we are working on the Roseland campaign with the foundation and we are working with facilities and IT on the Roseland Library, like we are an integral role in all of those activities. But those goals are in those divisions. So we participate in each division's goals in various ways. And, we could have, the level of specificity that the foundation has, we could have made, the real goal is to really make the foundation long-term sustainable.
Right.
That is the kind of the broader goal.
These are specific tactics that the foundation board has identified. Get 3 high value donors. That's more of a tactic than a goal. The goal is really to, grow the foundation from this kind of 3-year startup to a long-term, permanent, sustainable foundation. That is the broader goal. And because our budget supports Craig and Suzanne Axtell's work, that's why it's part of executive services. We don't have a separate department for fund development. It's part of executive services.
Thank you. I agree. I think that you're getting at the degree of specificity issue, which is we do have in all the other ones, and then we have some specific goals for the foundation. I don't think we have that specificity in terms of the financial reports that Craig said we're going to see on June. So perfect. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Okay, we've got Commissioner Doyle, and then we have Commissioner Engbarth.
Yeah, this is just a small one. Back to, I'm following up on Andy's question about the phase 2 strategic plan on 134. So when you say market analysis, are we looking at the things, the communities that we haven't identified, the communities we don't know, the communities, that kind of thing, or?
It's really branch specific. So it's basically going to be a demographic profile for every branch that will look at, it will take a deep dive into the demographics surrounding the branch. It's like a very traditional market analysis. And that will, as I said in my opening remarks, that will be used to inform our strategic plan goal of hyperlocal services.
And perhaps identify people we haven't.
Exactly. Communities
Okay.
that may exist that we are not aware of, that we may want to specifically reach out to and engage.
There's one in Windsor.
Hey, Commissioner Engbarth.
I can't hear him.
Commissioner Engbarth, you're on mute.
I had a barking dog, so I put myself on mute. I'm sorry. In your presentation, you mentioned the facilities master plan, and I was wondering how the executive services relates to that. What is it that you do in terms of implementing that facilities master plan that we agreed to?
We worked directly with facilities. That is one of the departments in my purview. So we are maintaining where we still have Rincon Valley, which is getting a modernization at this time. We'll be doing Roanoke Park next. And then the facilities master plan is an ongoing plan to make sure that we are circling back on a regular time frame for various maintenance and upgrades like carpeting and paint to make sure that our buildings are welcoming to our communities.
Have all the factors in the goals that were identified in the facilities master plan, if they've all been accomplished?
Not yet. We still, like I said, we're wrapping up Rincon Valley, Roanoke Park's next, and we're very much in planning phases to determine what's the best route forward with Central.
Okay.
And then some of the other priorities listed in the facilities master plan include enhanced library services. And those are things like the expansion of the Occidental Library, which Dara is, she is the chief negotiator on that MOU with the county. So even though it is a facilities project, this is the role that we play in those projects, is that we are working directly with our JPA partners, trying to, finalize who's responsible for what. She works with facilities to make sure that the budget that we are proposing for the project is reasonable, that we've also asked the county to do some additional work, and she is really our negotiator in those discussions. The other thing is that we, with our new strategic plan, one of the things we will be looking at is expanded outreach. And that could be a bibliobus, it could be a library depot or a library kiosk. So those are all parts of the facilities master plan, which we hope to really dig deep into next fiscal year once our strategic plan is ready, and we can start identifying some timelines for some of these other projects.
Yeah, why I asked the question, I'm just wondering, since everything else in the world has changed since the master plan was written, whether it might be time given the new strategic plan coming out and some of your the library's ventures in terms of developing like Occidental, whether it might be time to, even though it's a little early, to be re-looking at that plan to get the people that worked on it or another firm to assess what our facility needs are going forward.
Well, I don't think, oh,
Well, I mean, we can certainly review it, but I can tell you, that is not budgeted next fiscal year. So if we were to look at our facilities master plan and see if it needs to be updated, we would have to determine how to pay for that.
Yeah, I was just wondering. I just thought I'd raise it. So it's a question.
All right, thank you, Dara and Craig.
okay, thank you.
Myrna, you're back.
Good. Page 137. Good afternoon. I am Myrna Lopez, the Chief Financial Officer and Division Manager for the Budget, Accounting, and Financial Services Division. The Budget, Accounting, and Financial Services Division provides oversight of all financial activities. The accounting and payroll team strive to provide the best customer service to the Sonoma County Library staff and patrons. The department oversees the organization's financial operations and leads the development of the annual budget. It manages payroll processing on a biweekly basis and establishes financial policies and procedures to ensure sound fiscal practices. The team also provides analysis, reporting, and administrative support to the Library Commission, the Finance Committee, and the Measure Y Community Oversight Committee. The accounting and payroll team has been working diligently in planning and implementing systems and best practices to support continued excellence in our work. These are highlights of what we've accomplished over the last several months. We issued a request for proposals for auditing services. It is the best practice to conduct RFPs every so often to ensure fresh eyes on our financials and understanding the pricing and the skills that are up to date in our auditors. We received multiple responses and selected a qualified public auditing firm, and we did generate some savings from this competitive process. Harshwell and Company are the current independent auditors. We received a clean audit for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2025, and it was presented to the commission in January of this year. We've added new budget controls to the financial system by rolling out the encumbrance process, which was led by our accounting manager, Catherine Line. The process allows the financial system to record the full amount of our financial commitments for such as contracts for the full entire fiscal year. Prior to this, managers had to track these commitments manually. In addition, I worked with the Finance Committee and the Commission and developed a policy to accelerate the pay down of our unfunded accrued liability. So the Commission adopted a policy to adopt annual additional discretionary payments to that end goal. Our team may not be seen at the front desk, but our impact is felt throughout the entire system. Our team's work is rooted in stewardship and accountability to the public. We monitor funding levels to support program staffing and service levels. We provide timely reporting on modernization projects and payroll. We support and provide reporting to the Measure Y Oversight Committee. And we're actively providing strategic leadership by facilitating data-driven decisions to complex projects. And our mantra is excellence in customer service. Our mighty team consists of 7 full-time persons and 1 part-time extra help. And our resources allow us to meet our charge. The resources cover the annual audit, our county accounting support with our financial system, reporting requirements. Execution of the new strategic plan and Measure Y ordinance require commitment to consistent, transparent, and having systems in place. The budget, accounting, and financial systems team as such continue to work toward a sustainable budget, partner with the Commission's Finance Committee to create strategies for sustainable use of our fund balances, and update our purchasing procedures for system-wide goods, services, and construction, and partner with our communications team in publishing the report in the culmination of Measure Y and meeting its charge. We continue to work closely with the Measure Y Oversight Committee to provide information and continue to exercise our fiscally sound policies and procedures and to build upon the new strategic plan that we're anticipating. With that, I'll take questions.
Commissioner Elkins?
Thank you very much, Marina. Great presentation. Great job to you and your department. Quick question. You mentioned quickly in passing county accounting services. Is that relationship continuing to go well? It feels like it's become totally seamless as part of, at least from an outside perspective. I just want to know how it's doing for you and your group.
It's working really, really well. We've worked together several years, and I think it was definitely a very prudent action to provide those support services because we are so closely aligned with the county. We use their financial system. The county holds our funds in its treasury. So it makes a lot of sense to work with them, and they provide great work and support to the library.
Really glad to hear that. Seems to have had a very positive impact in terms of the timeliness and accuracy of reports. So
yeah, it's
definitely
additional accounting and oversight for the library.
Remind me, who heads that up now?
Currently, it is Jennifer Murray. She's the supervising CPA at the county, and Lorena Espinoza, another accountant.
Right, thank you.
Commissioner McKenzie?
No questions. Just want to compliment you as Andy just did. So this is the time of the meeting where I always throw in what an incredible improvement in our financial reporting, of our clarity, of the, clean audit. I mean, everything that has happened since you've come along, and Erica too, of course, the team of the director and the CFO is so important. And you both collectively has just taken us into a totally different level of financial understanding and accountability and everything. And I just really appreciate everything that you both have added to the, well, besides the stability, just us understanding it, you know, where the money's going, reports are so much better. Anyway, just really appreciate you.
Thank you very much. I do want to acknowledge my team. I couldn't do this
Yes.
work without them. They are very committed to their work and excellence in their work. And the clean audit that we receive, I always tell them that it's the reflection of their day-to-day work and being consistent and following through compliance with our own library policies and procedures. And so I'm very grateful for their contributions and their commitment, as well as that's the message that I send out to then the rest of the library staff, that as long as we collaborate, we can continue to have these clean audits. And I know sometimes they're tedious, but there's a good reason for being good stewards of the taxpayers' dollars.
Well said, and congratulations to you and the whole team. Because I
you.
agree with you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Jamie.
I would like to introduce Jamie Anderson, Collections Division Manager.
Okay, good afternoon, Library Commissioners, Chair Chabot. My name is Jamie Anderson, Collection Services Division Manager. Am I loud enough? Thank you. And I'm excited to present to you the proposed budget for collection services for 26-27. The Collection Services Division creates equitable access to information by curating a diverse collection for the community to enjoy. We purchase physical and digital materials for all ages in multiple languages and formats, such as large print books, DVDs, research databases, and streaming videos. The collection serves everyone, from the young child who is learning to read to researchers who utilize our historical collections. In addition, we run the Link Plus service, which is a way for borrowers to request materials from other libraries throughout the state. Collection Services has 20 dedicated staff who take pride in the library's values of curiosity, equity, and intellectual freedom. We have a team of 5 librarians who select all new books and materials in accordance with our collection development policy. A team of 6 manages the process of ordering, receiving, and physically processing the collection to get it ready for circulation. Our cataloging team is made up of 6 staff who ensure that each item has an accurate record in the catalog for public discovery. And the Link Plus service is run by a team of 2 staff members. Ultimately, Collection Services exists to make sure the public is delighted with the collection, whether they are checking materials out in person or online. And I neglected to mention this presentation starts on page 145 in the binder. There are 3 accomplishments I would like to highlight from this year. With the launch of our new online catalog last year, we gained the ability to create book lists within the catalog. These online book lists encourage reading, help users discover new titles, and allow staff to highlight titles that are high interest due to a current event, or backlist titles that might otherwise fly under the radar. Here on this slide is a snippet from our catalog homepage in the month of February, which shows 5 different book lists that users could click on and explore. New book lists are added weekly and are shared out on social media. As part of our ongoing work to foster equity and inclusion, we set a goal back in 2018 of increasing the diversity of our collection to 30%. When we started tracking this metric, we were at 14%. At this time, due to concerted staff effort and intentional direction from the reimagining plan, we are up to 26.5%, which is tremendous progress towards our goal to have a collection that contains content by and about a wide array of voices and experiences. And then thirdly, expanded resources. Some of the resources we were able to expand this year include the New York Times Online and adding Nintendo Switch 2 video games to our video game collection. As you probably know, the New York Times Online was an expansion from the prior year in that we added subscriptions to the games, cooking, Wirecutter, and athletic sections. These add-ons have been very popular and are highly used. Patron demand for Switch games has also been very high. The Switch games include many of the most popular video games, such as Super Mario and other Nintendo games that are not available through other gaming systems. As was mentioned at the beginning of the workshop, according to the community survey conducted this year by our strategic plan consultants, when asked, how do you usually use the library, 81% of respondents said it was to borrow physical materials. The second way that people most often use the library at 56%, according to the survey, is to download digital materials from our collection. These responses underscore our checkout statistics reflected on this slide. The collection is the main reason people come to the library or use the library's website. In 2025, we reached over 1.6 million digital checkouts in Libby, where patrons can enjoy 24/7 access to our ebooks, e-audiobooks, and e-magazine collection. We saw a 41% increase in overall digital checkouts over the last 3 years, highlighting the need to purchase strategically in this area. We enjoyed the highest number of checkouts in our organization's history in 2025 with over 4.6 million in total. This is especially notable considering that 2 of our branches were closed for part of the year. And during those closures, the majority of those branch collections were in storage. Of that 4.6 million, 44% of the checkouts were for digital items, and the other 56% of the checkouts were for physical items. So you can see our physical items are still ahead of the pack, but not by too much. The total checkout figure also includes our Link Plus borrows. If you're not familiar with Link Plus, it's a resource sharing service that provides access to another 5 million titles beyond our walls in our collection. There are about 70 member libraries that participate in Link Plus. Of those 70 libraries, Sonoma County Library is consistently among the top 5 or 6 each month with the highest number of borrowed items. The collection services proposed budget for next year will include salaries and benefits for the 20 staff members. And this budget supports the purchase of all of our books, materials, subscriptions, online databases, e-resources, and the Link Plus service, as well as supporting supplies. When the new Roseland Library opens in 2027, its collection size will be approximately doubling. New books and materials for opening day will need to be purchased, cataloged, and processed in the coming fiscal year in order to be ready for a 2027 opening. The collection will be tailored to meet the needs of the Roseland community with a large percentage of Spanish and bilingual materials. This project will be a big focus for my team next year to ensure the Roseland community has the collection it deserves for opening day and beyond. We will also be improving our wait times this coming year. This is something that was alluded to at the beginning of the workshop as well. We currently purchase an additional copy of a book once there are 4 holds on that title, which is a ratio of 4 to 1, in order to keep up with the wait times and make them reasonable. For digital titles, however, the buying ratio ranges from 4 to 1 to 10 to 1, which results in longer wait times for these formats, as was noted in the community survey. A July 2025 Computers and Libraries article noted that ebooks are now 3.63 times as expensive as print books. 3.63 times. And this means keeping up with the demand for popular titles in these formats can require considerable expense. The library and ultimately the public has been impacted, as we've seen in the survey results, by the additional cost for digital titles, as well as the higher demand for these formats these days. Next year, we'll be putting an extra $100,000 towards improving the wait times for our e-media. However, it's notable that this amount of money will make a small dent in the wait times due to those increasing demand and high costs. Shifting to a third area of focus for next year, we'll be applying one-time funding from bequests and the Library Foundation to support purchasing a fuller backlist of ebooks and e-audiobooks. A fuller backlist is often a major circulation driver when patrons want to read the entire body of work by an author or an entire series. We will focus on purchasing from publishers that have library-friendly terms and offer perpetual access or ownership copies of the title. As you may or may not know, most ebooks and e-audiobooks that we purchase are licenses. They expire after a certain amount of time has passed, or we get a certain number of checkouts out of them. By focusing this additional one-time money next year on the ownership titles and perpetual content titles, we hope to, again, just make a dent in shoring up those backlist titles that would stay in perpetuity in our collection going forward and not expire out of the collection in the future. By maintaining library collections, we are keeping our promise to the voters who passed the sales tax measure. As mentioned earlier, 35%, since collection service is one of the service-oriented divisions, 35% of the materials budget comes directly from the sales tax revenue. In 2025, per the numbers on this slide, we purchased over 74,000 physical items and over 229,000 digital items, primarily ebooks and e-audiobooks. That concludes my presentation.
Okay, any questions for Jamie? Commissioner Goldberg, Commissioner Elkind, Commissioner McKenzie, and then Doyle, and then Pulse.
It's not a question, but thank you for everything you do. And I just wanted to say that I'm really glad you're focusing, you said in your report, on working with library-friendly places for collections. And I was kind of wondering from Commissioner Doyle, is there any work being done legislatively to get the costs down for buying stuff? Because when I'm in the community, the first thing people say to me is, I love the library, I love the library, I love the library. And then when I say, what about improvements? They say wait times. So, and I don't know.
Can I address that?
Mm-hmm.
Various states are looking at it. There was some legislation in Maryland that was then overturned by the Supreme Court in Maryland. So there are lots of discussions. The publishers will tell you that it's very expensive to create the books because it has to be, you know, some of the fonts are owned. It's very complex. It's very complex. In California, our legislative committee is also this California Library Association's Legislative and Advocacy Committee is looking at it also.
Sure.
But nothing really to report
So
about.
it's not something really that the states can address on their own because it is kind of a federal issue. So there are, like as Commissioner Doyle pointed out, a patchwork of states who have tried to address it. In Connecticut, they passed a law that basically says that libraries cannot do business with publishers who charge exorbitant prices. But at the California level, we do not believe that is the appropriate approach, because essentially that means that our patrons will not be able to access specific titles. So our committee has recommended that the California legislature appoint a study group of various attorneys and auditors and other industry professionals who can study the issue. But really, this is kind of a federal legislation issue. And until we kind of see some changes in our current administration, we don't think that it's likely to change. So we're all working on it, but there needs to be a federal effort.
And the federal law that they're looking at is actually trying to censor books, so that's
they're
the
on
one.
the other side. Yeah.
Hey, we've got Commissioner Elkins.
Thank you. A question and then a comment, Jamie. Question, back on page 147, you were talking about representation in the collection and how, thanks to a concerted effort by staff, that's increased from 14% to 26.5%. I think that's great. I was just curious. How do you calculate that, or what determines for your team whether a particular book, would count toward diversity in our collection?
Yeah, thank you for that question. We use a tool called Collection HQ, which is a software platform that has a methodology for looking at the subject content of each title in our collection. And it tracks across different DEI categories, such as race, gender, neurodivergence, a whole variety of categories.
That's fantastic. I love it. Appreciate you doing that. And my comment, I wanted to thank you for taking what I would consider to be sort of a both and approach here, bolstering our physical items as well as our electronic. And a challenge, I know you're up next, Pachola. I feel like just among people that I talk with who utilize the electronic resources of a library, there's not widespread popular understanding about how much more expensive it is. And whenever I share that with people, they go, "Oh my gosh, now I understand, but I had no idea." So thanks for navigating this, and that'll be something for your to-do list. Thank you.
Feels like it should be the opposite. I think people think it's the opposite.
Okay, we've got Commissioner McKenzie.
Thank you. Thanks, Jamie, for your complete report. On page, whatever page this is, 151, about the items purchased. So 74,000 physical items purchased and 229,000 digital items. What, you buy a book and then of course we use it several times. Hopefully number of people check it out. What's the reference to the digital items? Is that how many individual books or some of the books we get to have, they have multiple checkouts before?
This
What-
is a
what's
count
involved in the
of digital
purchase?
items. So each digital copy of an ebook or an e-audiobook that we purchased that year.
So sometimes when we buy a digital item, that's one use, or is that multiple uses of it?
The buying is
It's one
different from the
copy.
using.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So you brought to our attention a couple of years ago that, obviously we're a locally funded library, but other people can use our electronic access. Do you have any sense, again, I know I've asked you this before, about people who are not local who are using our digital resources?
Yeah, we did look into that data as best we could. I think the last time this question came up, maybe a year or so ago, we weren't able to get an exact statistic on that. But at that time, when we looked into it, I think it was about 10 to 12% of the usage of our digital collection were from zip codes outside of Sonoma County. But that
Outside of
have Sonoma
Sonoma
County library
County.
cards, so there are card holders with us.
Can people from Boston get a Sonoma County library card and use this?
If they come here in
If
person,
they come and get one.
If they come and get one, but I mean, applying online, you can't do that.
not if you're that far away.
But in California, you can.
Correct.
Yeah. Thank you, Jamie. Appreciate it.
Only available to Sonoma County residents.
Commissioner Doyle?
Great report. Thank you very much. And I will say a comment first. Our wait list is much better than many of the libraries in California.
Yes.
Truly, many of the libraries in California. We've got a great wait list. My question is on the budget that talks about people and the resources. Obviously, we're spending more this year than we were last year. But there's also been a COLA, there's also been, inflation and that sort of thing. So how much, just like ballpark, how much of a percentage increase are we giving to our collection services division?
Are you asking about the people or the resources portion or both?
The resources section. Yeah.
So the increase you're seeing between 25-26 to 26-27, 400,000 of that is for the Roseland opening day purchases that we'll be making, one-time money for that. And I think it's roughly the other 372,000. Does that sound right, Mirna?
Yeah.
Will be for the boost we're going to be doing for the e-media, which includes helping with those wait times, as well as filling in some of those backlist titles and series gaps.
And so that's for the Roseland, but for the entire collection and the rest of the collection?
So 400,000 is for Roseland, and that's coming from the Library Foundation, and the other 372,000 is for the e-media. And that is bequest funds that we are utilizing to do a one-time, which was talking about the permanent license
For the entire system.
for the entire system.
Well, we could say, if you look on page 50. On page 50, we see books and media. There is an increase of $799,000, which is a 19% increase. So really, it is a 50% increase, about 400 is obviously from the foundation, but the other, it is about 400 because there is property tax and sales tax. Also, we increased property sales and sales tax by 100,000. So it's about 10%.
Okay, I just want to make sure we're really adding to the collection. Thank you.
Commissioner Poles.
Thanks for asking one of my two questions. I don't need to answer it. The other question I had is the difference between licensing and ownership. I mean, I understand, I get it, long term, why that's important. Is there a different initial cost to buy ebooks as an ownership versus licensing? Like, do you have to have money up front that obviously saves in the time, or is it about the same?
I might have to follow up and get back to you on that. I don't think it's the same,
Okay, thank you.
but I don't think it's significantly different either.
Because the reason I'm asking that is why would anyone license if you could, like, if it's the same 3.6 roughly, why would anyone license at that point versus own? I just assumed ownership in the
Sometimes the
initial.
ownership option is not available.
Publishers
In fact,
don't.
most of the time it's not.
Got it, now I
That's why
understand.
we're trying to go with those.
I understand now. That
publishers
makes
that
more
have
sense.
separate-
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
All right, it is 2:53. We're going to take a 7-minute break, so everyone be back at 3 o'clock.
Wow.
7
Good afternoon, Chair Lagos, Commissioners, Library Director Tubalt. I'm Petula Burks, Communications Director for Sonoma County Library. Thank you for the opportunity to present the Communications Division budget for next fiscal year. The presentation begins on page 153. Let me start with a simple truth. A library program only works if people know it exists. Every child story time, every literacy program, every workforce workshop, every ebook, none of it reaches its full impact unless the community hears about it and feels invited to participate. That's where communications comes in. Our job is to make sure that the incredible work happening at the branches across Sonoma County Library is seen, heard, and understood by the community we serve. Today, I'll briefly share who our communications team is, the impact we've had this past year, how communications supports connecting libraries and the services they provide with the community, and how we use our budget to amplify the work happening across the entire library system. So, I went too fast. Before I go any further, I thought it might be more fun to introduce the communications team through video. Our team spends a lot of time behind the scenes making flyers, graphics, videos, signage, ads, and campaigns happen across the county. So this is a rare chance for you to actually see the faces behind the work. So let's take about 45 seconds to meet the team.
Everyone knows the library delivers books, but the communications team helps deliver a lot more. Place media and advertising. We post engaging content and videos to social media. Our team of graphic designers create graphics to promote library events and initiatives such as summer reading. And make sure all of our graphics are bilingual to support our community. What begins as an idea comes to life in our print shop. And yes, this means we all have to wear a lot of hats. So when you see a flyer, a social post, a commercial, or a packed library program, that's the communication team. It all comes together to share the library message with our community.
So when you see the hats stacking up in the video, that's not just for fun. It's an accurate representation of how many roles communications plays across the system every day. This past year was a strong one for communications and connecting with the community. We supported outreach for the library's strategic plan, which generated a record-breaking community participation and feedback. That level of engagement ensures the library's future direction truly reflects the needs and voices of Sonoma County residents. We also expanded our social media presence, allowing us to connect with new audiences and keep residents informed about programs, services, and resources. And we produced the library's first commercial for streaming media platforms, allowing us to reach audiences in new ways and modernize how to promote library services. All of these efforts help ensure that residents across the county know what the library offers and how those services can support them. Communications is about more than promotion. It's about access, inclusion, and trust. This year, we expanded language accessibility, ensuring more residents can engage with library services regardless of the language they speak. We also work to create consistent messaging across branches and platforms, so whether someone encounters the library online, on social media, or in a branch, they receive clear and reliable information. And we continue positioning the library as a trusted community voice, a place where residents can come not just for information, but for opportunity, learning, and connection. The Communications Division operates with a small but highly productive team. We currently have 5 full-time staff members and 1 extra help position, each specializing in different aspects of communications: marketing, design, digital media, and community outreach. Our budget supports 2 primary areas. First is staff, the people responsible for planning and producing all communication initiatives. And second are the tools and resources needed to connect with the public, including printing, advertising, promotional materials, translation services, and digital media. These resources allow us to ensure that library programs, services, and initiatives reach residents across Sonoma County in clear and engaging ways. Looking ahead, communications is and will continue to play a key role in supporting the library's new strategic plan. Our work will focus on 4 major priorities. First, developing a library and patron-focused communications plan that helps residents easily discover programs and services. Second, creating targeted outreach strategies to reach new audiences and communities throughout the county. Third, centralizing branding and messaging, which helps ensure consistency and clarity across all branches. And fourth, expanding accessibility, including materials available in Braille, ASL, and multiple languages. We will also partner with Budget, Accounting, and Financial Services to produce a Measure Y and Measure W transition report, helping the public clearly understand how these funds support library services and community impact. Communications also plays a role in ensuring that residents understand how their sales tax dollars support the library system. Our work helps make the impact of those investments visible to the community. Sales tax funds support communication tools that help residents stay informed about library services, including media advertising, signage and wayfinding, promotional materials, and public information campaigns. These tools allow us to promote programs, guide patrons through library spaces, and communicate important updates across the county. A great example of our work supporting the Roseland Modernization Project. Our team currently provides community communications and updates, signage and promotional planning, and outreach strategies to keep residents informed throughout the process. The Communications Division exists to ensure that the incredible work happening across the Sonoma County Library System reaches the people who need it most. Our goal is simple: to make sure every resident knows the library is a place where they can learn, connect, create, and grow. Thank you for your time today, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. First of all, welcome to Sonoma County Library.
Yeah.
We're very happy to have you. It was a lovely and really fun presentation. I just have one comment or suggestion. This is not in any way meant to tell you or your team how to do your work. When we were doing the Measure W campaign, there were a number of us who were out speaking to groups. I did the Rotary Clubs because I'm a member of them. And as much as we do and as much as we communicate, I'm continually surprised by how many people don't know what we would consider to be the most basic things about the library, that it's free, that it's available to everybody, that you don't need, citizenship papers or anything like that. And so I would just, as you're doing everything that you're doing, I would just encourage you and your team to think about what we can do in terms of an on-ramp for people who don't even know the most basic stuff. So that's my one thought. Thank you.
We've got Commissioner McKenzie, then Commissioner Doyle, and then I see Commissioner Green, Commissioner Poles, Commissioner Riley.
I was going to say, everybody wants to communicate. Thank you again for your lovely presentation. I did like a little video of everybody. I wanted to mention kind of in a very one segment of the communication issue has been with commissioners. And one question is, does the library still do email updates?
We have 2 different emails that we send out. So one is the library news that you get once a month. And then there is an actual library event newsletter that also goes out. But we're also just sort of brainstorming around how much information needs to be sort of sent out in between, because there's also that place where there's an overload of information. And so we want to be very clear about sort of what boundaries are for individuals. One, and two, what avenues people want to get information through. Because we also know that when sometimes you may not see an email that we send out. So what other options do we have? So at some point, probably in the next 6 months or so, as I continue to sort of get my footing here, is sort of to survey how people want information, as we're also looking at how we're doing information internally as well.
Well, that's very helpful. I always liked that once a month email, although I don't know if I've gotten it for a while, but I'm not sure. And I don't know about the event emails. I don't know how they're targeted, whether event emails go to people who live in certain jurisdictions or, how that works.
So I will tell you, I started getting the library event email in my personal email as soon as I got a library card.
Me too.
So that's how that one works in particular. The library news email, you should be on that list because it's to leadership around Sonoma County. So it's a very specific list, but our commissioners would be on that list.
So I just don't feel like I've seen it for a while, but I know as part of your communication plan anyway, that some of the we've talked about this before, about how to communicate, how commissioners get involved somehow. Deborah's always talked about this, that there are places that we'd like to be, perhaps like to attend and be, part of what goes on. And that I mentioned this at the last meeting, that it was a big deal down in Petaluma at that historic building, big ballroom at the top, and I was so shocked to see it afterwards, but I don't know how the word got out about that before. And I also think, so I don't know how that feeds into your communication plans, but I hope it does somehow. And then just lastly, I think that somehow, there's an expectation that people will go online for everything, and everything's there. But library users need to be aware of things because they're not thinking, oh, I'm going to go online and find out what happens. I think our outreach, obviously your connection with outreach, the outreach people are out there going, hey, we're here and here's some of the stuff we have. And then, so obviously you're working together on that. Anyway, I think the materials that come out of communications have just been really great, very high professional level for a long time. And I think, the department's doing a great job and welcome. And I'm glad you'll do a great job leading it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
More welcomes from here. Tangentially to Andy's comment, one of the things that I notice also is that some branch patrons are not aware that they're part of a bigger system. And so one of the things that I think it would be wonderful, as you're sending the micro, you're addressing the micro needs, it is also, I think, essential that we make sure that they know that the system is here, and is what is actually raising all branches, if you will. And echoing what Barbara said, the commissioner is delighted to be at various events and things like that. So we're happy to do that. I think different branch managers have different ways of sending the word out about what they're doing, and it may not be in your purview, but I think it's the message get out in various ways. And then finally, Commissioner Director DeBose serves on the CLA Legislative and Advocacy Committee, and I've been active in California library advocacy for a long time. And it's important that we somehow make sure that our patrons know what's going on, not only here, but in Sacramento and in Washington. And so again, may not be your purview, but I think it's something that, as we're talking about communications, and especially during these uncertain times, with midterms coming up, it's a good thing to keep in mind as we're messaging with our patrons. Thanks.
So we do include advocacy pieces in the library news. So that is something that goes into those anytime there's a call to action or we're asking people to, write their legislators. That is in the library news. So.
Let's see.
Commissioner Grace.
Well, welcome, Petula.
Thank you.
It seems like you have you've jumped right in and that you're making a seamless transition. I did want to just double down on Commissioner Elkin's comment when I was with the Speakers Bureau for passage of Measure W. That was also what I was most surprised about, that people didn't know the library was free. I want to, if you are ever in the North Sonoma County, all the way up to Cloverdale, please get in touch, because I'd like to introduce myself in person.
Absolutely. And I think part of what you see in the presentation when we talk about really getting clarity around messaging, some of that's what that is, because we understand people really look at their branches, but it's also about how those branches fall up into the overall system. So we'll be looking at it from that level as well. So thank you for your comments. Appreciate it.
Okay, Commissioner Poles.
Well, as Andy said, I don't want to tell you to do your job, but here we go. So I also really appreciate everything. And I think for me, I agree that it surprises me what the average person doesn't know when you're out and about. But I also feel like I'm a relatively sophisticated user of the library, and I'm surprised what I don't know about the library. So I don't even think it's, people, I do know it's free and all that stuff. And I'm about a year in my commission, and I spent a little bit of time the first few months going around introducing myself to various branches. And one of the things I would ask every librarian I met or every staff person is, what's your favorite thing that's going on right now? And I found out a lot of stuff, and it's a nice little highlight. Like, what is your favorite thing in the library at this moment? Maybe we could do it. And it personalized what it was really interesting to me, like what people were excited about in their jobs. And I also, every time I'm like, I didn't know we did that. I didn't know we did that. And so I think there's that mix of naive users, and then also how do we deepen how people use the library if they're just in one realm of using the library. So I think it's a mixed thing. So that was exciting to me to hear what staff were excited about. And I think 90% of it I didn't know we did. So there you go.
Well, I should tell you, I didn't know, like, I worked in a library when I was in college, but I did not know to what extent libraries have changed a lot, right? And so one of the things that we've talked about is how do we communicate that the library is a part of an overall infrastructure, and that it has its own ecosystem. And so a lot of the times you think of it in relationships to, what cities do. The library has its own ecosystem that relates and acts in some of the same ways. And so how do we communicate that? So that's what we'll be working on, and the communication plan will be very strategic in how we outline how we go forward in that.
Yeah, thank you, Petula. First of all, as I mentioned earlier, nice to be here with somebody else who's jumped in midstream into the deep end. Thank you and congratulations. I will also briefly say, for personal accountability, communications is close to my own professional background, and so I will do my very best to not get into the weeds because you are the expert in this house. My one question is, you mentioned an expansion of social media over the last year. What did that entail?
So I can't speak to the full of that. What I do know is that we had an uptick of about 441% in followers. And so we have really looked at, it looks like over the last year of looking at what trends are and then following those trends. So we've gotten people's attention with that. And so as we move into sort of this next phase of what social media and messaging looks like, it will go into then how do we connect messaging back to the library, and sort of telling the stories and narratives that we've talked about. So one will be those modernization projects.
Yeah.
And so we'll be analyzing that every so many months as to how those things are doing. And I'll be able to tell you more probably in the next 6 months about what that looks like for us.
Yeah, and if I could just toot Petula's horn a little bit, as part of National Library Week, they produced a series of videos about behind the scenes staff, very engaging, very informative, and it's a good way to educate the community about all of the work that we do behind the scenes to deliver library services.
Thank you. That's phenomenal. I've seen that. Thank you. That you said 441% in terms of
uptick in new followers over the last year.
That's phenomenal.
Yeah.
Well, thank you to you and the whole team.
Follow.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
So we're starting this presentation on page 161. So good afternoon, commissioners, Chair Legas, Director Tabo. Thank you for having me. My name is Jessica Romero, and I am the Community Engagement Division Manager for Sonoma County Library. At its core, community engagement is about connection, creating meaningful opportunities for people to learn, contribute, interact, and participate in their community. We extend the library beyond our physical buildings. We don't wait for the community to come to us. We actively bring library services out into the community. The biggest examples are programs that we do every year, such as Zine Fest and Lumicon, and new this year, Jazz with Stella Heath. We show up in places where people already are: schools, community centers, events, and making library resources accessible and visible. At the same time, our branches remain essential hubs. They provide high quality, engaging programming that supports education, creativity, and community connection. Pictured here, you will see kids enjoying bubbles during a story time. And if you have ever been a children's librarian, you know that bubbles are non-negotiable. Together, this work ensures we are both a destination and a presence, serving people inside our buildings and out in the community. Over the past year, we've focused on strengthening both our external reach and our internal capacity. We expanded the Bibliobus schedule to better serve rural and unincorporated communities. This wasn't just about adding stops. It was about building consistent, present, and trust in areas that we have historically had limited access. As a result, we've strengthened relationships and increased visibility of library services in those communities. We've updated onboarding and refresher trainings across children's, teen, and adult services. This ensures staff are aligned, current, and equipped to deliver consistent, high-quality programming. It also creates a stronger foundation for scaling services and maintaining quality as we grow. We've also improved outreach training for branch staff. The result is a more coordinated, strategic, and responsive approach to community engagement. These accomplishments position us to expand thoughtfully because we've strengthened both our infrastructure and our community relationships. This year, we're intentionally centering our work around creating library joy through programming. That means designing programs that are not only educational, but engaging, welcoming, memorable, and fun. With the cost of living consistently rising, the library is one of the last places where everything is truly free, and we want to ensure that we provide opportunities for all age groups and walks of life in our community. This approach strengthens the chance of repeat participation and overall community value. A new outreach vehicle significantly expands our ability to meet people where they are. It increases the frequency, consistency, and geographic reach of our services, especially in underserved areas. It's not just about mobility, it's about equity. It allows us to reduce barriers and provide reliable access to library services across the entire community. Our community engagement work is carried out by a team of 16 across 9 different classifications. This structure reflects the breadth of services we deliver, from programming and outreach to coordination and instructional support. Our services operate across multiple mobile and physical platforms. The Bibliobus and Outreach Van are critical tools that extend our reach beyond traditional branch spaces. These mobile services allow us to engage directly with rural, underserved, and non-traditional library users. We rely on a mix of internal and external resources to deliver high-quality programming. This includes contract presenters, as well as outreach and programming materials that support consistent service delivery. We also leverage online learning platforms and have an amazing adult literacy team who work hard to expand access to lifelong learning. I feel like I have to take a deep breath. As you all know, we are working hard on creating a new strategic plan, and these priorities will guide how we design and deliver community engagement services moving forward. We are intentionally embedding local identity into our library operations and offerings. This means reflecting the culture, history, and character of the communities we serve directly into our programming and services. The goal is to increase patron joy and overall well-being by making the library feel personal, relevant, and rooted in place. We're using both library spaces and community partnerships more strategically. This allows us to connect residents with services and resources in ways that are aligned with equity, access, and demonstrated community need. In practice, this means being more intentional about who we partner with, where services are delivered, and which gaps we are trying to close. Because as you all know, everyone wants to partner with the library. We're also expanding mobile services to better serve a diverse and aging population. Mobility is a key access strategy, especially for individuals who face transportation, mobility, or geographic barriers. By increasing mobile service delivery, we are improving equity of access across the entire system. Your library sales tax at work. You see that in our programming, our outreach, and our literacy services. Everything we do thanks to the library sales tax, and we couldn't be more grateful for it. Question?
Okay, we're gonna go Commissioner Goldberg, Commissioner Poles, and then Commissioner McKenzie. Thanks, Jessica.
I have two questions.
Sure.
One, what are the specifics, if you know yet, on how you're going to be increasing outreach to seniors?
So our outreach to seniors, it's more about taking us out of our buildings and going to them. So part of it is our bus stops, and another part of it is making sure, and this is not planned until the next fiscal year due to Polaris, because we want to wait till Polaris is being implemented. But Jamie and I have been consistently talking about a books by mail program. That is really important, and it's going to be very high on our list for next fiscal year because we know that there is a need. We get calls often from certain senior centers where even though they're a mile away from the library, we try and make it a point to create stops at those centers or at least visit them once a month, because sometimes it doesn't matter how close they are to the library, they still can't get there. So we will come to them.
Thank you. Yeah, when I was interviewing somebody in the river area, they said that was an example. Hey, the library's so close to the senior center, it doesn't mean that the seniors are getting to the library.
Exactly.
Yeah. So that makes sense. And then my second question is it your division that is responsible for outreaching and running the program at the jail and at the hall?
Yes, it is. We oversee jail and reentry services. So we have a librarian at the main adult detention facility and the juvenile hall detention center.
How's that going?
Really well. Scott, who is our juvenile hall detention center librarian, is doing programming 3 times a week. Our library is thriving. We have bought video game consoles for the juvenile hall, and at first our partners kind of pushed back on it, but when they are playing video games, that's one of the only times that they're not fighting. They're fighting and they feel like kids. So it's really been good for kind of their mental health and just, overall. We just had a new contract librarian start at our main adult detention facility, and he's doing great. He just got in there and he started, planning programming and things like that. And we can't wait to see what he is starting. That background check for him, if you guys don't know, is fairly extensive. It took about a year for him to be able to actually step foot into the jail, but he's doing amazing. Of course.
Thank you. I wonder if I could ask a question on page 165, where I'm looking at your resources from this year to the next year, you're asking for 113K less. And I'm just gonna wanted you to talk a little bit about that.
Oh, sorry. Did you change it? Go ahead and change it for me. It's not that we're asking for less money, is that that number reflects a lot of our grants. And so, for example, this year we've lost the ESL grant through the CLLS library. And that's about 40,000. Our Lunch at the Library grant was reduced as well from the California state. And I believe there's one or two grants that we applied for last year that we did not this year. That could change next fiscal year because we always apply for grants as they come, but that's mostly a reflection of the grants because we bring in a lot of money with grants.
So just a follow-up question to that. So the roughly 113K reduction will be reflected in those grants, and those particular programs will not happen or not happen at the level that they did last year.
Let me answer that. So we are still advocating for the restoration of those funds. And the governor's budget, his May revise comes out in May. I don't know how successful we will be, but we are working very hard to especially get the ESL funding and the California Library Services Act funding.
And I can add to that as well. Whenever we apply for grants, we try to create infrastructure so that we can continue them at a lower level that doesn't cost us so much money. So part of, for example, one of those grants are our computer classes. It costs money to set up, but now our librarians can teach it on a regular basis. Other things we adjust, but we always try to make sure that we are providing similar services even without the money.
The library also, in working with staff, backfilled a very nominal amount to keep the ESL going. So we were able to do that.
Right.
In very nominal, $15,000, but it helps to keep programming going.
Yes.
Just, she's giving me the opportunity to say, this is the this is the time of year that you write to the people in Sacramento who represent you. And that you ask your friends groups to write to the people in Sacramento who represent you to say, don't cut the library funding. And the federal, but particularly state.
Commissioner McKenzie?
Yeah, I just had two questions. Thank you, Jessica. And one of them was, I was so surprised to see in here the state eliminating English as second language funding. I was just so surprised.
Yes.
But so I'll jump to my other question, and that is on page 49 in here, and it's kind of related to what Commissioner Goldberg was asking. It sounds like there's a plan to expand mobile services, and I think it would be really nice at some point in time if you could come to the commission and talk about the plan and what all the stops are and what you're planning to do, because it'd be nice to know in our communities where the expansion is going to be. And I was also asked over the weekend by former county supervisor if anything was going to happen at the Springs or services at the Springs, and I wondered if that's part of the planning process or not.
We're always, we've gone to the Springs at least 2 or 3 times to try and scout locations. But the Springs it's a little difficult to find a place that we can park. But it is definitely on our list of places where we want to be. So it's on our radar for sure. And yeah, I think with Director Thibault's permission, I can definitely write up a presentation for you guys. I do have a plan. It's going to be funded year by year. It's not funded yet, but part of it, the first phase is this second vehicle. But in my dream of dreams, right? I hope to have a whole fleet one day, but we'll see.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And now I'd like to introduce Clint Yeager.
Okay. Hello, Commissioners and Director Thibault. I'm Clint Yeager. I'm the Acting Facilities Manager, and I'm happy to be here to deliver this presentation. Go. Did it die? There it goes. I think it just died.
You just advanced it.
slight pause. Okay, here's it work. Nope, next one.
Really? You're gonna skip through this? Just stay there. Just not who we are. What we do. Yeah. Okay,
That's it.
okay.
Nope, not
Let's
this
go
one.
back.
This one right here. All right, well, if that isn't nerve wracking, nothing is. One more. Yeah,
Yeah, but you don't want this one. No.
no.
That's it. Is it delayed? Oh. Just give us a second. Hang on, just give us a second, everybody.
Okay. Facilities and delivery are an integral piece of library support staff. Our task is to be proactive in the pursuit of a user-centric model for managing library physical assets. Facility staff strive to maintain high-functioning staff, safe and welcoming spaces that adapt to modern technological and social needs. Delivery staff are responsible for picking up, sorting, and delivering our materials to all 14 branch locations. Currently, we process over 100,000 items per month, which allows for efficient interbranch holds and returns for our patrons. On the left, we see Monty performing preventative maintenance tasks on our, or otherwise known as PMs, on our Runner Park branch. And on the right, we see delivery staff driver Robert offloading material into the automated materials handling room, otherwise known as the AMH. Okay, there we go. I did only push it once. We are currently working on our Rincon Valley modernization project with a targeted reopening date of June 22nd. This fiscal year, we completed infrastructure projects at 2 locations. On the left and middle, we see the completed HVAC and electrical upgrades at our history and genealogy location. And we worked with our JPA partners to facilitate repair on the exterior siding at our Guerneville location. And the HVAC upgrade is coming shortly. On the right, we see, on the right, we see the well-loved addition to our Spassville location, which is an expanded staff book drop room where the new AMH is housed. Delay. Okay, with foresighted thinking, collaboration, and cross-sectional divisions, and the input from our patrons, we can see and target the needs of our community to provide comfortable, functional spaces for our patrons and staff. The Cloverdale patio will receive its finishing touches, including a shade sail, creating a vibrant, welcoming location for children and all patrons, as we see in this rendering on the top left. On the top right, our newly modernized Petaluma Library. This location pulls patrons in with its warm, welcoming atmosphere, highlighted by an updated, fresh, and spacious design. In the bottom 2 slides, we see Healdsburg Library. On the left, a view of the children's room, and on the right, an enclosed teen area that provides a safe space where teens can freely express themselves while enjoying library provided services. Delay. With a total budget of $7,770,000 across 2 departments, we have 15 people occupying 14 FTE with 1 extra help. We support and maintain 17 buildings, 12 vehicles, 11 departments, and 3 AMH, all possible through support from operational funds, capital improvement funds, city and county partnerships, grants, and donations. So to continue upgrading facilities and expand access to services in fiscal year 26-27, we will perform exterior H&G ADA upgrades, which include a new wheelchair ramp and handicap parking. Continuing to work closely with our JPA partners, we will address infrastructure needs at our Roanoke Park location, combining that work with new carpet, new paint, and a fresh layout designed to streamline service and enhance user experience. Sales tax funding in our division supports a healthy, safe, and inviting library system. Library sales tax funding will help ensure the needs and expectations of the community are met, providing fresh, welcoming locations for our patrons. funding the furniture, fixtures, and equipment, which is known as FF&E, with $1 million in new Roseland Library, as well as $1 million for renovations of a larger location in Occidental Library, Occidental Community, sorry. And with that, I'm sure there might be some questions.
Okay, any questions? Okay, we've got Commissioner Riley and then Commissioner McKenzie.
Yes, thank you so much for the work that you do. I have a fairly specific question. I think you mentioned 3 AMH in the cards for this next fiscal year. Is one of them for Petaluma?
For Petaluma?
Yeah.
Well, we do have thoughts on that, but Mike would know more on if we are funding that next fiscal year. What I meant on what I said was that we support 3 at this moment.
Support, okay, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Roseland will have one.
Mike, you have any information?
Part of my preference.
Oh,
Okay,
there you go.
we'll come back to it.
To be answered later.
Thank you both.
We'll have an AMH.
Yes,
Roseland will have an AMH, so.
so it'll be 4 then.
Yes, thank you for your report, your very first report and welcome us to the budget workshop, Clint.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask a question about Northwest. I saw that it's budgeted in here for under a infrastructure grant, I think. But wasn't that long ago that Northwest was fixed up? And I was wondering what additional work was being done.
I didn't see.
Northwest, so the funds that were provided to Northwest,
Yeah, I could speak to that. I could speak to the dollars and I'll ask Director Thibault to give context. Originally, when the commission committed funds for the matching portion from the library, there was a Northwest on that list. So it continues to be committed. However, my understanding is that project is not going forward. So there will be a future action to uncommit those funds. But since you officially committed it as a commission, you have to officially, as a commission, uncommit them. That's a cleanup matter. Yeah.
so the state library rescinded the funds for Northwest because the city of Santa Rosa did not provide their half of the match. So that project is not moving forward.
Good. Well, that explains that. And my second question is around Occidental. We're going to be investing in Occidental. I don't know if are we talking about that now or anytime or now? $1 million to fix up a building, whatever, it's a county building. Could you tell us a little more about it?
Building, we're in the process of working on the lease or
The
if we're
MOU.
gonna do it, right? And inside, we're gonna knock down some walls, make the space bigger and more spacious. I think maybe some restroom upgrades because the restrooms are quite dated. And outside paint, steel and stripe the parking lot, maybe make it handicap accessible.
But am I doing,
Moving from a 647 square foot building or space to a 2,500 square foot space. So it also will also need IT and Wi-Fi.
okay. So no, I think it's great to expand services. I'm all for that. It seemed like a lot of money. Is this if we're fixing up a county building?
That's correct. We are adapting a county building to be a larger library.
Including their parking lot?
It's basically a basketball court.
Oh.
We're just gonna stripe and seal it so people know where to park and then
Okay.
opening the little throat so that wheelchairs can get in and out.
Okay, well,
So not a major upgrade.
And we've also submitted a community-based project fund request for Congressman Huffman's office.
okay.
It has passed the first round. So we may not spend $1 million. We may only spend $200,000, depending on how successful we are.
Good work. That's what I'll save the rest of my questions until we find a little more about the lease and everything, but that's great. No, I'm all for doing that. And I was wondering if we have any numbers about how many people the Occidental Library serves or will serve, or how we're thinking about this expansion.
I'll give the information at for the presentation in the future or the next meeting. I don't have my binder with me.
Next meeting, when we talk about the lease.
Whenever Eric comes out.
that we can bring that as part of the unanswered budget questions.
Okay. Thank you. And then my last question is actually just begging for the air curtain to be turned off at the Roanoke Park Library when you do the renovation project. And it's just, it ruins the lobby. And I was just over there yesterday for a lab meeting, and you can't have a conversation in the lobby anymore. And that's been true. And I've been told, we'll turn it off. We can't turn it off. We'll move it outside. We can't move it outside. Here's the button. You can turn it off, but nobody ever turns it off. It's on constantly. And I've been told it's for smoke, that, you know, we don't have any smoke. And so I don't know why it's on, but it's so irritating. And I've just thought I'd take this public opportunity to ask again, which I asked last year at the budget meeting, if could be turned off. Thank you.
It's for climate control too.
Yeah.
Try and keep the heat and cool in, but I understand your concern and we'll definitely consider it.
It's a nice big lobby, and we've used it for different things over time. And I mentioned when when the Friends have their book sale, they have to keep the door closed in the book sale because otherwise constantly it's on and people are yelling back and forth in the Flores room to hear each other. So anyway, it's a really big problem, and I just appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Is that it?
All right.
Accidental.
So.
I didn't
You got here, changing committed fund balance 1 million. And we have here the unrestricted fund balance available for budgeting of 8,600,000. Is that after the $1 million?
Yes.
In other words, the 1 million is essentially in this budget for the coming fiscal year.
Yes.
And we don't have to pay 1 million more out of the uncommitted fund balance.
Correct.
Okay, thanks.
And we still have $350,000 from Northwest that we put back in the fund balance.
That's true. We still have to do that.
Not before I introduce 2 million. Thank you, Glenn.
Microphone.
It's not bothering me.
Labs. Next time, let's get some labs, Mike.
Good afternoon, Chair Legas, Commissioners, and Director Tebow.
That it?
Ready? Yeah.
Good job.
Oh, yeah.
I'm Suzanne Silva, Human Resources Director, and this is our staff day photo from 2025 held at the DoubleTree in Roanoke Park, where almost 300 staff attended. And some of you commissioners as well. Chair Legas gave a wonderful and compelling speech. And anyway, so today I'm here to share our department's accomplishments for this year, goals for next year, and demonstrate how human resources supports organizational stability, workforce readiness, and service delivery to our community. Human Resources is a strategic partner responsible for managing the full employee lifecycle. Our work ensures the organization is appropriately staffed, compliant, and aligned with operational goals. We support leadership through labor relations, including negotiating the successor MOU with the union, workforce planning, and performance management. Additionally, we oversee compensation, benefits, and training programs that enable employee effectiveness. Oh, did I mention that our program began on page 177? Sorry about that. Our accomplishments. In the past fiscal year, Human Resources focused on strengthening workforce stability and operational consistency. We supported critical recruitment efforts to maintain service levels. We hired 34 new hires, including 18 regular hires and 16 extra help. We promoted or transferred 30 staff. This included screening over 1,400, actually almost 1,500 applications, moderating 150 interviews, and our average time to fill was 37 days. We expanded supervisory support and training to improve leadership effectiveness. HR has offered numerous trainings since last fiscal year, including many orientations, specialized trainings for new hires, anti-harassment training for staff and supervisors, other supervisory trainings, workplace violence prevention training, and refresher courses on behavioral skills and HR policies. Now that we've implemented the Learn platform, we can track training easier. This enables us to comply with regulatory requirements. This also helps us reduce risk, improve retention, and support uninterrupted service delivery. We've also implemented our Perform, which is our performance management aspect of the NeoGov platform. Erica loves this module, and so do our other supervisors. It is a little bit tricky, and we are adapting to it like any technology platform. We can make journal entries online, complete mid-year check-ins, and our completion rate for performance evaluations is actually increasing. And like I said, it has been a learning curve with the system. Risk. Our experienced mod has gone down 27%. This is one of the numbers that is used to determine our workers' compensation premium. The other figure is payroll. While our payroll has increased, our premium for workers' comp this year, I would say, has only increased by $6,000, which is fabulous. Yes, this is due to the fact that our claims have been reduced. And one of the other reasons why our claim has been reduced is because we haven't implemented more ergonomic evaluations, safety training, and other risk mitigation measures. We really do value employee safety. Sorry, we have the delay. Our impact on the community. HR's impact extends beyond internal operations. It directly supports community service delivery. By participating in local events sponsored by our community partner agencies and colleges, HR presents a positive face in the community. This includes creating opportunities for volunteer and high school interns through the lunch in the library program, By recruiting and retaining qualified staff, we ensure consistent and high quality public service. People want to work for the library, as the numbers indicate. We hire talented staff from the community and promote them from within. Our training and development Our training and development efforts equip employees to meet evolving community needs. We support staff through workplace violence prevention training and provide de-escalation tools, employee assistance program, and an annual wellness reimbursement as well. We also support a safe and supportive workplace, which is essential for sustained service excellence. Providing staff with these training opportunities to empower them to serve our patrons gives them tools to succeed, advance in their positions, and also to advance within the library. We do this by offering generous staff and development and conference funds, as well as other internal training opportunities. The proposed budget reflects a focused investment in workforce sustainability and organizational effectiveness. We have 6 full-time equivalent and 1 extra help. The extra help position is vacant at this time. Our key investments include leadership development, employee support tools, and HR system modernization. These investments, again, help us prove efficiency, reduce operational risk, and help us enhance service delivery. The reductions in our budget are due to efficiencies in service delivery and decreased costs to improve background checks. You may ask why. So I will tell you. The background checks have been integrated through our NeoGov platform. So it's an increased efficiency. Our strategic initiatives are aligned with long-term organizational priorities and regulatory responsibilities. We are advancing our ADA transition plan to ensure accessibility and compliance. We work with facilities because that's part of the ADA transitions plan. I serve as the ADA coordinator. So when there are requests for accommodations, like he was talking about like Kent was talking about the wheelchair ramps or things like that, we work in consortium to ensure that those are in place, or if there are other types of accommodations, like the bathrooms and things like that. Some things with buildings that are older, we may not have to implement some of those measures, but when they do any type of modernizations or upgrades, those implementations are in place. Or if there are aftermarket accommodations or implementations that need to be in place, then we will work in conjunction. And then if there are complaints from the public regarding any of those, we will address, HR does address those, so. We are implementing tools and training to improve staff readiness and customer service. We are developing a formal supervisory training program to strengthen leadership capacity. And we are establishing a structured succession planning framework to ensure continuity in key roles. These efforts are proactive measures to mitigate risk and ensure long-term organizational stability. This slide demonstrates how public funding is being responsibly invested in workforce infrastructure. We are updating the employee handbook to reflect current laws and organizational practices. We're evaluating equity programs to ensure fairness, consistency, and alignment with best practices. We're also reviewing and updating HR's policies to maintain compliance and operational clarity. In summary, our budget reflects a disciplined approach to supporting our workforce while maintaining accountability to the community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Yeah, background checks.
Yes.
Do you ask about criminal convictions?
Yes.
Do you ask about civil commitments for mental health issues?
Have
you ever been committed?
We do criminal background checks, and we do employment reference checks. We do employment verification checks. And I do know that, well, you may or may not remember, a couple of years ago, we came here requesting permission to proceed with our live scan, which is fingerprinting. That is still waiting to be implemented. We're on the final legs of that. And I do not know if that does mental health background checks. We do not ask if people have been criminally institutionalized. I do not know if our vendor does, but
Would that be allowable?
I don't even know if that's legal. I don't believe that's
It's an
legal.
allowable thing to do as an employer. Like there's certain things that we can ask in interviews. Might be a ADA or.
HIPAA.
Yeah.
Yeah. We don't carry firearms at the library, so I think that was.
So 2 questions. I know that the new software has been, you were looking forward to it. Are you happy with it?
It has increased our efficiencies immensely, recruitment and e-forums and online. I am happy with it. I think our managers are happy with it. Again, there's, some little kinks and hiccups. Our couple of our staff are being sent to a conference where they'll be learning about, upgrades, but yes, I am pleased with the fact that it has increased our efficiency.
You happy with it?
No comments. I think the more that managers use it, then the happier they will
No,
be
I
with
would
it.
say, so one of the things I mean, the hiring process is much faster. There's also a process for submitting leaves, and that's nice. And it gives you prompts, like when you have to do a mid-year check-in, that's really nice. I think the performance evaluation process could be a little improved. It's, you know,
A little
it's a work in progress.
clinky,
It's a
clunky.
work in progress.
It's new.
Yes.
It's new. And then my other question is, you mentioned volunteers in the summer reading program.
Lunch at the library.
No, sorry, lunch in the library. They always conflate with me. Do we have other volunteer programs in this library? This is a library that I have seen fewer volunteers than any library system I've ever been involved.
Literacy is the only other one.
But
I said, I'm working on it.
But our team, so so I don't know if Laura Myelian, who's a teen intern or teen what's the name of the class? Teen administrator, yeah, teen services administrator. She has done amazing things, and Jessica's her boss, but she's done amazing things with the teen volunteer program. And implemented software. We count the hours for volunteers. They have many volunteers. I don't know how many hours that they do, but she's working on making that program robust. In fact, we are helping her write a volunteer handbook. So there's a lot of things that are happening and will be happening. We don't have a volunteer coordinator position, which I think at some point I'm putting a plug in for her. At some point that would be great. But I think that at some point it would be great to make our program more robust. But we're putting in guidelines for helping them write letters. There's just a lot of things that would happen. And I think as we grow, it would be great.
Do you have literacy volunteers?
The literacy.
Does have volunteers too.
The literacy and the, all right. There are lots of resources out there for volunteers.
Yeah, yes.
Yeah.
And my new HR analyst is great too. So we've just been working on a lot of things, but I can't commit to those things at this time without my director's approval.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. And let me please introduce, were there any questions? No. Okay. Let me introduce Mike Daw, IT manager. Thank you.
Thanks, Suzanne.
Thank you. Thank you.
I figured.
I'm sorry, you like that? No.
There's always one in the crowd that asks the question.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
I'm like, I can read this. They're right. I'm sorry.
It's Anthony's fault.
I got technical stuff, so.
This is our unintended intermission. It's a nice time to stretch and take stock in where we are and what we're here for. There we go. All right, presentation mode?
Yes.
There we go. Wonderful. Totally understandable. Good afternoon, Chair Lagos, Commissioners, Director DeBoe. I'm Mike Daw. I'm the library's information technology manager. My presentation starts in the book on page 185 if you're following. Today, I'll share how our investments in IT support public access, safeguard library operations, and prepare the library for the future. I'll briefly touch upon who we are, what we've accomplished, and how our fiscal year 2027 budget request supports the library's strategic goals. Before getting into priorities, I want to ground us in what IT does. The IT team researches, purchases, deploys, and supports the technology that allows the library to provide excellent public service. Our work spans 5 separate core areas: library computing, which is staff and patron devices; network and cybersecurity, which is our email system; connectivity and our data protection; information systems, which is our ILS, our public library catalog, as well as our online learning platforms; our websites, which is our highly used public website, as well as our staff intranet site; And of course, internet access, which provides connectivity for patrons inside our buildings and beyond. This photo here is a great example of our work as our IT technician, Phil Fornaciari standing, is helping staff through a 3D printer upgrade workshop, providing hands-on support and engagement, which directly benefits our public. Shown here is one of my personal accomplishments for this year and my participation at the Wild Oaks Saddle Club event. At the event, I was able to show people the capabilities of our 3D printers. There was so much interest in our 3D printers that the twin of this print right here sold at the event as part of the proceeds of the day. And if you'd like, I'll pass them around.
That's Otto, yes?
Yes, it's Otto. If you were at the event, you'll remember we had placeholders at each table, a miniature version of that. And this year we'll do something even better. But anyways, for my team for accomplishments, we installed materials handlers at the Sebastopol Regional Library, the upcoming AMH at the Rincon Valley Library that'll be debuting in June. Sebastopol system sorted over 19,000 items in the first month of its service. We completed over 5,200 technical support requests over the course of the year. We also completed the RFP process and began implementation of our next ILS, Polaris, offering long-term stability and improved workflows. And I'd like to thank you for supporting that project and letting us close on June 2nd for our staff training day. These accomplishments and others reflects IT's commitments to stability, efficiency, and long-term planning. IT is at the forefront of the library's efforts in meeting the community information needs by expanding access, safeguarding our data, and providing resources. Shown here, Anna, the branch manager of the Northwest Santa Rosa branch, is utilizing expanded access with one of our camera lending lockers, which now provide access to check out DSLR camera kits for 21 days without any staff intervention at our Santa Rosa libraries, thanks to our PEG project funding from the city of Santa Rosa. We also replaced our aging central firewall with a next generation unit. The new equipment will safeguard our data for the next 7+ years, and patrons benefit directly from that protection as they use our public computers and capitalize on more than 200,000 Wi-Fi sessions annually. And through our online learning platforms, IT helps patrons build skills, anything from learning new computer skills, a new language, or expanding their job skills. IT's budget request this coming year is just under $5.38 million, and it's broken down into 3 areas as follows. We have 12 IT staff supporting library services, and with the places, it's the infrastructure and automation where the access happens. Now, with our resources, those are the systems and tools that the public directly uses. A great example that encapsulates all 3 of these things is the new Roseland Library. When it opens, it's going to have an automated materials handler, self-checkouts, a book locker, a bibliobox, public computers, and creative technology that expands access and opportunity. IT's work closely aligns with the strategic goal of closing community gaps in technology access. Next fiscal year, we plan to complete the project of deploying 24/7 bibliobox hold lockers at all library locations, including new installations at Forestville, Occidental, and New Roseland when it opens. We're also continuing investment in automation. Shown here is a Sebastopol's automated materials handler, which Clint shown us earlier. It improves staff ergonomics. And if you look closely, just in front of Kathleen is a window where patrons can actually see the materials checked in as they are dropped off into the book chute. We're also employing a new materials handler in New Roseland and Petaluma. It's going to be a smaller unit at first with some room growth in that area because it's a pretty tight construction. We're also migrating the public website to a new hosting platform this spring with improved analytics so we can make better data-driven decisions to find out how people use and access our resources. And much of this work would not be possible without the sales tax. Here you see Phil checking out a laptop from one of our lending kiosks. We've been able to deploy 12 of these across the county for 132 flexible use devices that people can use wherever they feel most comfortable within our libraries, rather than being relegated to the stock computer carols of yesteryears. Tax funding also supports updated computers and software. Our 3D printing service, which you saw and is in high demand in many of our branches, and our internet lending program, where we have 1,500 hotspots, which people can check out for 3 weeks at a time. These services provide access, flexibility, and opportunity, and they're possible due to a strong commitment from our public support. Thank you for your time and continued support of the technology that makes a modern library service possible. And I'm happy to accept any questions.
Questions?
Sure.
You certainly answered the question I had. So thank you. Phenomenal news for Petaluma. I just wanted to remark that, full circle with the conversation we had earlier when Petula was presenting about the number of things that people don't know about the library. So frequently I find that the technical offerings are some of the things that people don't know about and get really excited about when I share that, you can get your laptops, you can get cameras, the 3D printing. So thank you. I know that's a lot to manage. Technology is my own background and it's a chaotic space. So just thanks to you and your team.
Yeah. Wow, it must be late in the day.
Fabulous. Don't go away yet. Just a comment that Windsor had a leadership group, and one of the afternoons we spent in the library, and this was 25 people who are leaders in the community, and 2/3 of them had no idea what was happening in the library. And of those 2/3, probably 2/3 of them got a library card, had not had a library card, but got a library card that day. So I think it's really the outreach that the commissioners can do, the outreach that our labs can do, the outreach that our friends can do, and the staff, of course, is really important. I do have a question, and this may not, maybe this is a larger question. Do we do any IT work with the schools? Or is that a completely, okay, never mind.
Well, that's teamwork. We have an education initiatives librarian who actually goes out to the schools, and she gives great presentations to the teachers and the students about our e-resources. And as well as we have our Student One Card program. So everybody from the kindergarten up gets a library card to make use of our resources, but not direct IT work.
Thanks.
Just a quick comment. Kind of alluded to it, but I wanted to just give a call out because thank you for putting in the automated materials handling in Healdsburg.
Yes.
Really appreciate that, and I know the staff does too.
Yes, John has spoken very highly. It's great.
I appreciate everything you're doing, Mike, and thanks to your team. Thank you.
Okay.
Sarah, all right. Good job, IT. All right, for the last presentation, so from the chair, if you would like to stand up at this time, I'm gonna do a brief stretch. This is the home run. I want you all to be engaged. I didn't bring an auto statue or do a wonderful video.
There's chocolate over.
But last year at CLA, I attended an engaging meetings presentation and they showed us the small stretch. So you can sit if you want to or stand, but you basically spell coconut out with your body. So you go C, and then you go the other way. And then you go O, and then you could go N. U, did I miss one? I always misspell coconut and T. But you can do this anytime.
I do not think that's how you.
It's C-O-C-O-N-U-T.
Walk in and you see.
There we go.
Wow.
Yes.
It's a naughty song about coconut seconds.
That's not wait, because I learn about public service.
There we go.
All right, greetings, everybody. It is truly our pleasure today to share with you stories from the heart of the library, the Public Services Division, found on page 193. I'm Division Manager Sarah Vantrease here with my colleague, fellow Division Manager Barbara Mays. We are delighted to present on behalf of our outstanding, award-winning public services team. We wanted to start by showing off our bibliobikes. In Healdsburg, Petaluma, and later this year in Cloverdale, staff ride bibliobikes to schools and parades, to story time at the park all over town, connecting positively with thousands of patrons. This is one of many examples that show how accessible our libraries are. Our friendly, familiar public services staff are in the community, ready to help. The bikes are just the beginning of how public services creates community through discovery, culture, and connection. Public services by the numbers and by the heart. Public services supports 15 countywide library locations with security staff at 7 of those sites to ensure safe, welcoming spaces for all. In addition to our core staff, we are strengthened by dedicated volunteers who generously contribute their time, resources, and energy to help their local libraries thrive. Our library advisory boards, or labs, aid us in community engagement, partnering with city officials, staff, and residents to gather feedback and identify the needs of their communities. Many labs lead outreach efforts. I'm looking over there at Commissioner Riley. Host open houses and conduct surveys to ensure libraries reflect local priorities. Friends of the library groups are equally vital. Through book sales and events, they raise funds and awareness, providing additional books, programs, furnishings, and enhancements, while supporting fundraising for modernized and new library spaces. These long-standing volunteers are among the most dedicated supporters of our libraries. As we reflect more deeply on who we are and what we do, I would like to draw your attention to this photo up here. Last year, the Guerneville Regional Library received a gold resolution for pride from the Sonoma County Commission on Human Rights. With the Commission and Board of Supervisors recognizing the library for advancing diversity, equity, and inclusion countywide, and for its leadership within the LGBTQI+ community. This recognition affirms our mission to serve and uplift all Sonoma County residents. Our work is seen, valued, and celebrated, and we are proud of the role public services plays in building inclusive, connected, and resilient communities. Investing in our spaces and our people. As we look back on the accomplishments of the last year, beyond the astounding 1 million plus checkouts and visits across our locations, and the achievement of keeping 15 library locations open 7 days a week for a total of 750 open hours, we can point with pride to our new and upgraded library space. It was an especially active year for facilities, with major projects all over the county at Petaluma Regional Library, History and Genealogy, Sebastopol Regional Library, and Rincon Valley Library. Throughout this period of transition, public services staff demonstrated extraordinary adaptability, working for many libraries, taking programs into the community, supporting the Bibliobus, filling in at our other branches, and assisting nearby libraries experiencing increased demand. Branch leaders showed exceptional leadership, planning closures, coordinating the movement of hundreds of thousands of materials, sustaining staff morale and community connections, and ensuring continued library success even when our buildings were closed. A smaller but impactful upgrade that took place at Forestville, that's at Forestville, that photo right there, funded entirely by the River Friends of the Library through a generous donation, was completed without closure. This library has added a children's space, inviting furniture for teens and adults, areas for marketing, and an ergonomic desk for the staff. In addition to reconfiguring the space with the foundation of our supervising librarian for Forestville and Occidental, Forestville has seen significant growth, including stronger school and campus partnerships, expanded outreach, enhanced programming such as a weekly story time, and for Forestville, record high patron usage. We look forward to further expanding services in Occidental in a similar way and continuing to provide responsive library services to West County's rural, unincorporated communities.
Our branches are the destination for free and essential connection. We cannot overstate the value of the free public library, where we have made it easy for people to connect with all the free services you've been hearing about today. Free books, free Wi-Fi, free early learning, free printing, free classes. At the library, free brings the feeling of worth and wealth. And this impact goes beyond the stuff. It's also about the space. The branch renovations and upgrades are creating more flexibility for quiet study or co-working in pods. We have acoustically separate areas for our exuberant kids and collaborative teens. We have highlighted the natural beauty of our outdoor spaces, and we make meeting room spaces available at low cost or no cost. It's all free and essential. Adding to that, safe. This year, we've been working with a local security vendor whose insights and daily assistance have helped us reduce the number of safety incidents in branches and to handle them with consistency and respect. In September, we heard from a Santa Rosa patron who wanted to share her deepest appreciation. She told us, Sonoma County libraries are a refuge and a haven for many, honoring the glorious diversity of our people. You better our lives, and you represent the best of who we are. Our budget is simple and transparent. We are 2 administrators with a compassionate, trustworthy team of 242 public-facing staff. We spend money on services and supplies that create a sense of safety, welcome, and opportunity in and through each of our locations. Our people and partnerships multiply this return on investment to strengthen and support our community. We have an established agreement with the county for branches to serve as warming and cooling centers. And today, we installed health vending machines at 3 branches, working with county public health to creatively offer harm reduction supplies when and where they are most needed. The library has become a partner of choice to other agencies because of our reliable human-centered services. I have to mention again our partnerships with 9 Friends of the Library groups. They amplify our mission, vision, and values through their generous donations. Their work is generating hundreds of thousands of dollars annually spent on projects big and small. We so appreciate the friends and the other donors in the community who invest in their public library. Getting back to those 750 hours of service per week, what does that look like? So many things happen at the branches. There are all kinds of culture-making activities going on. Kids are getting their homework done, an adult learner types up their first resume, little ones get ready to learn to read, teens apply to college, a family digitizes their precious home videos, a new American gets help in their native language. And people are also drawn to the library as a destination for arts appreciation and creation. In Sebastopol and Sonoma Valley and other branches, local artists have a venue to connect their work with a wide population of both arts aficionados and those who may never have set foot in a museum. We have curious kids and quilters and makers showing off their beautiful creations. Snoopy fans are coming to take selfies with the Charles Schulz characters. The library's 3D printers run continuously each day. In this photo, acclaimed author and cartoonist Raoul III poses with the Healdsburg Library staff, who brought him not only into the library, but into Healdsburg schools and into the heart of the community to inspire hundreds of young people to read, to draw, to color, to create, to dream, and to take time for culture and the arts together at the library.
Okay, Measure Y, Measure W, and the people behind the promise. Our staff deeply appreciate and understand the impact and importance of Measure Y and the passage of Measure W. We are genuinely overjoyed that our community sees and supports the hardworking staff and the essential services that we provide every day. Public services staff are at the heart of that trust. They ensure our libraries are safe, clean, and welcoming spaces. They operate with reliability, transparency, and accountability, and they actively foster equity and inclusion while continuously striving to improve themselves and the library as an institution. Sarah and I work in close partnership with staff to support these goals through the trainings we deliver, like coconut. I swear I can spell coconut. The policies we develop, and the honest, respectful communication that guides our work together. Pictured here are 4 library aides from 3 of our busiest libraries, Central, Petaluma, and Rohnert Park, Cotati. Together, these staff members represent a remarkable 73 years of combined service to the residents of Sonoma County. 73 years of dedication, showing up for their communities, and public service done with care and pride. This enduring love for our communities and belief in the work that we do is reflected directly in our outcomes. As Director Thibault told you earlier, the strategic plan community survey showed us that we have a 97.5% customer service satisfaction score, a powerful affirmation of the trust our community places in our staff and our libraries. In closing, I would like to share a quote from one of our patrons, words that beautifully capture the meaning and impact of our work. I have nothing but praise for the facility and every individual there that helps us use it. I truly feel like it is a gem of our community, and I sing its praises often. When I see the parking lot full and the building overflowing with people of all ages, it makes me smile. I always have a book waiting, and I truly cannot imagine my life without the library. Thank you for this gift in our little town. This sentiment reflects exactly why we do what we do. We are deeply grateful to our community for their trust and their support, and profoundly proud of the staff whose dedication turns that support into meaningful, everyday impact. Thank you so much for your time today.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yes. What are harm reduction supplies?
Yeah, so it's a mixture of supplies, and the decision on the type of supplies comes from the County's Department of Health Services Public Health Division. So the library didn't have input in their choice of supplies is based on data that they have from community surveys as well as 911 calls. So it includes items like COVID tests, fentanyl test strips, Narcan or naloxone, dental hygiene kits, socks, cable gun locks, and I think about 6 others.
I also just want to point out that these are outside the library, so they are accessible 24/7, and they are completely, the upkeep and maintenance of the machines are the county's responsibility.
And if we didn't say that, they're at Petaluma, Sonoma Valley, and Roseland. Commissioner Doyle's?
Thank you so much for your work. I mean, the line staff, the entire staff, we're so thrilled and delighted with all your work. And the line staff, of course, is one of the reasons why we get the 97%.
7.5.
Sorry. Very sorry, so sorry. But my question is, because this is budgets and because we're looking forward to the next year, where do you see challenges? It's a good story, and we have a good story to tell here, but what are the challenges that you might see in the next year?
Like challenges in the year to come.
Budget?
Like challenges in the budget, or like challenges that may have an impact on the budget?
I mean, the big thing that we're looking forward to, as we said up there, is new Roseland Library. I mean, we don't know what we don't know. We're gonna open up a large building that's gonna be beautiful and in the center of this community. And we have staff allotted for it, and we know we're gonna double collection. And so I think our big challenge for the upcoming year is really opening that space and welcoming the community in and seeing what they need and what comes from it.
And I would add expanding the Occidental Library.
That too, which I'm extremely excited about and can't wait to talk more about once the lease is done. So, but I think Roseland is just such a big feat and it's something we've been waiting for so long that it's going to be the biggest thing.
Okay, great, thanks.
Commissioner Poles and then Commissioner McKenzie.
I was just wondering, from a staffing point of view, which one of you are going to take Roseland and okay, sir. And then, will you be moving more experienced staff into that, or do you think you'll be hiring? I mean, it sounds like there's got to be a hiring.
Yeah, so I currently work with our Roseland Regional Library and its Sebastopol Road location. And so the budget that's presented to you today includes an allocation for 3 additional positions, as we know we'll need to add to the current staff because of the larger library anticipating a busier location, more materials moving in and out. And so the new allocation shown in the balanced budget here, it's for 3 part-time positions. And then as Barbara says, we don't know how busy it is. We anticipate it'll be about twice as busy, but maybe it'll be 10 times as busy, which will be a thrill for all of us. And so just looking at, as we always do, especially with the coming year with the staffing profile analysis, do we have the right number and type of staff in each location to provide the quality service that the public expects?
In terms of hiring, so typically we would use our normal hiring process. For those positions, we would, people could transfer into those positions or they could hire new folks. So it really depends on, that whole recruitment.
Can I get back to your question? Such amazing staff at that current location right now. Most of them are bilingual and deeply tied to that community, and they work there because they want to be there. And so I know that they're excited about this new space, and we'll probably, we will bring on more staff, but the ones that are there are like our core Roseland staff, like they're excited. Commissioner McKenzie?
Just wanted to thank you both. I mean, the face of the library, to the public is, of course, the public services. I was at an event over the weekend. I wore my library hat and it's just like an invitation. People like come over like flies. I love the library. Can I get a hat?
Write a check.
I see you guys everywhere. You're in all the parades. They were just, it's just really, the library's just gotten big. It's what everybody does. Everybody here who's worked on it but all the branch staff, like Deborah was saying, in the libraries that, get that really high satisfaction rate. It's a great story. And Andy has been one talking on our finance committee about, we really need to tell this story because it's such a great, a lot of times we're at kind of the granular level or we're doing policy by policy or any of this kind of stuff. But the big picture is this is a great success story that we're all involved with, and we really appreciate everything everybody does to, keep us all feeling good and operating all these great library services throughout. So thank you very much for all you do.
Sarah and I felt that we love coming to do this presentation because we get to brag about how amazing they are.
Bragging is good.
Okay, thank you both so much. Thank you to Erica, to Marna, and to all of you for all the work that you've done for us. It is comprehensive. It is a lot of information. There's a lot of time on it. So we really appreciate all the work that you do to make sure that we have the information. So last round of questions that we'll grab for Myrna.
Then I'll thank you. And then if there are none, what we'll do is we will break until 5 p.m., which is then when our special meeting starts. So last questions for Myrna. Commissioner McKenzie.
I just, it's not really a question. There's a correction that needs to be made on page. The numbers at the top were 33, but it talks about allocation 3 major service areas, the capital projects, including those planned for Healdsburg and Petaluma. Of course, those are done. So this may be just some old verbiage that got carried over. This is about midway down on page 33.
It's in the pages a couple of times. Plan for Healdsburg and Petaluma. Some old text.
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm sure you want to change that because we do have, upcoming capital projects that aren't listed. But otherwise, I had a lot of questions. I think that the challenge for me, like I said in the earlier on, the budget workshop is there's all this stuff in here and then the presentations back here, and it's really hard to, ask the questions when it's during the presentation, when the information that you're asking about is in the earlier materials. It's just a bit of a challenge for me to ask questions in this format. But anyway, over the course of the afternoon, I got all my questions answered. So thank you very much. It was very beautiful, comprehensive, wonderful binder. Thank you.
Anything else? Okay.
I'm sorry. There is one question and I'm not sure where it lands, because things are so strange at the federal and the state level. And every department is looking for money. I mean, I know we have a healthy budget, but so I'm sure that Craig and the foundation do grant requests. Do the other departments, and I remember from other libraries, other departments do grant requests for specific things for their departments, or does it all go through the development department?
So the way we do it now is basically each department writes their own grants, but then Craig and Petula and I, and probably Dara as well, review them. I have to sign everything. So it comes to me when they do any kind of reporting, when they put together their narratives, when they do their financial, it comes through me and I have to sign that.
So no surprises.
Yeah.
Fabulous.
I do want to bring up one item that was from a previous meeting that I wanted to make sure that we discussed, was this idea of the expenses for the library commissioners.
Thank you.
So I don't know if, I know that Commissioner Cahill proposed that rather than having each commissioner be given a set amount that they could be pooled, but this would be your time to propose an alternative. This might also be a time for you to discuss stipends for commissioners, if that is something that you believe would be beneficial as we recruit 2 new positions in the next fiscal year.
Stipend separate from mileage.
Correct.
And we've got Commissioner Riley and Commissioner Stacy.
So being new here, there's a lot that I don't know yet, including the expense amounts and how that's managed. So I will wait and learn on that. But to the stipend question, I'm so thrilled to hear that even mentioned, because we see this at the level of the library advisory boards. We see this at the level of no doubt the commission. We see this in any volunteer effort and civic engagement. The way that this is the fact that this requires our free time, that is a proxy for privilege, and that filters the kinds of people who can afford to do this. So a huge debt of gratitude to all of us who can, and yet also there are people who would, if they had the ability to do so. For instance, if they had a stipend to help cover childcare, things like that. So I would just voice my vehement support for us trying to arrange something along those lines.
Commissioner McKenzie, Commissioner Coles, I do just want to be mindful, this is not necessarily an agendized topic. Yeah. It's part of our budget discussion, so we could maybe slide it under this executive services area.
Is there an item already in the budget for it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the commissioner expenses is in the budget, but the way we currently do it is that each of you is given a set amount. And I believe one of the proposals was that there may be a commissioner who might want to exceed their allotted amount. And is there a means of allowing that?
It's under the executive services.
Yeah.
Under the executive services areas, so technically we're discussing the executive services
Budget,
budget at this time.
Yes.
Thank you.
Commissioner McKenzie and then Commissioner Poles.
So as there's never been any allowance, as far as I know, other than reimbursement of expenses, which is basically if you go off to a luncheon or you drive, whatever. And so the stipend is an issue I brought up when we're doing the JPA review. And for just exactly what you were saying, Robin, that, you gotta, compensate people in some sort of way, if, like babysitting or, even just to be able to come to a meeting. And we're probably the only, at the governing, we're not an advisory board, we're a governing agency that does not have any compensation whatsoever. And I don't know what policy got put in the budget. We had talked about this a little bit, but may I just suggest, in the interest of time, so people get 20 minutes off, that we carry this conversation forward to our May meeting?
We first have Commissioner Poles and Commissioner Green.
Well, I'm gonna just say, I think mileage and and stipend should be separated. I think some people here, I drive 5 miles to these meetings. I think other people drive 40, and I think you need to review that, right? That people don't drive the same amount. And I think it's important. I will, but I also think when people say, I don't need anything, you set a criteria for other people who feel like they need it, to feel like that is not okay to ask. And so I think we need to separate mileage as needed. And personally, I don't need my mileage, but that doesn't mean someone else doesn't. It's all about how close you live to here. So I think that's important to separate that. We don't all drive the same distance, but I also think a stipend is different, and I think we need to separate them. And I think everyone should take the stipend if we do it, because then if people are like, you do whatever you want, you take it and you donate it to the Library Commission, but you don't publicly refuse it, because it tells people I can't take it. And I think that's really important. So if you want to donate it, do whatever you want, you do that privately. But I think if we're going to do it, we all take it, because that's the wrong, you know what I'm saying? That's what I think strategically it's important.
Okay, we're gonna go Commissioner Green and then Commissioner Cahill.
There is a reason to add to what Commissioner Riley pointed out. There is a reason that our commission skews older retired people. And it's because we have the privilege of serving and giving our time. In Cloverdale, Cloverdale was unrepresented for quite a long while because of the distance. And I feel like if there were a stipend, it would somehow equalize it and invite people to give of their time, but have maybe some of their expenses recouped. For instance, it's a given that you have a reliable vehicle. Even though we get reimbursement for mileage, there's a certain amount of privilege having your own reliable vehicle, particularly when you're coming from a distance. So I would like to have that discussion about a stipend to equalize community representation on the commission.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Jeff next, just to make sure we're not violating anything here, Jeff.
Thanks. I just want to make sure everybody understands that the joint powers agreement says there will be no compensation for commissioners. So you would need to change the joint powers agreement in order to be able to provide a stipend. And that would require action by all the members.
Well, that conversation's done.
Expenses are not a stipend. Stipends are not expenses. There's a difference
No,
between a stipend and expenses.
Correct. I think
Correct.
we still can discuss how there's expenses that the commissioners can go up to, and some of us use it and some of us don't. So maybe there's a more general distribution that you all could come up with a method for.
If I may, what is in the budget today is what I think it was a policy. Was it a policy adopted? Not sure. I think there was a question whether it was an actual action by the commission. But there was some discussion, at least in the finance committee, that came up with each commissioner receives $2,000 in professional development to be reimbursed, and $2,500 for the chair. So that is what is in the budget today. If you would like to change that, lack for a better word, guidelines or procedure, then I do believe we could treat it as an open item that you can discuss it at the May meeting, and we could then ensure that it's in the budget for June. The other thing is to follow up what our legal counsel mentioned, is that our JPA does say no compensation, but it does allow for mileage reimbursement. So that's where the mileage comes in. And so I would love to have our legal counsel give us some
direction as to whether we could do a stipend or not, and how does that all fit in?
Yeah, I would tell you, you can't do a stipend because a stipend is
Okay.
compensation.
There you go.
But, and you do, by the way, have a policy. It looks like it was adopted in 2019. It is a commissioner reimbursement policy.
Yeah.
So I would suggest that if you want to bring this back at the May meeting, take a look at that policy to see whether it still meets the needs. And then that could be part of a discussion.
Could you bring the policy back in May?
I will.
Thank you. Okay, so we are adjourned for this portion of our evening, and we will reconvene.